Hey folks, thanks so much for joining us today and for a little bit of a delay, a minute or two late, but we are here and ready to go and excited to meet all of you for today's session. We are talking MBA decisions, and we have a long couple of hours here of a lot of things going on today that we're really excited to talk to you all about. Graham from Clear Admit here, as well as my name is Mike. We'll get to more intros in a second here, but Graham, what are your thoughts on a decision day? What does today mean to you?
First of all, I just got to give a big hat tip here. This was your idea, Mike, and I think it's so much fun. And this is a random, this doesn't happen all the time where so many top schools are releasing, decisions on the same day. And obviously they don't get together in the off season and talk about like what day they're going to have their deadlines and stuff. So it's sort of just serendipitous that we've got, what is it today? Kellogg, Wharton, Harvard, Georgetown, Stanford, Dart. There are all these schools that are either going to be issuing decisions today or could start making those phone calls. So it's exciting. No, this is why we do this. It's so much fun to see all these results come in. So I'm excited, and I'm glad you came up with this idea.
Yeah, I think for folks who are either new to us or new to this whole idea of what we're doing here, I've seen a way our site works. We have this great thing called Livewire, and we're going to show that a bunch today. But what we do on Livewire is we basically just have people putting in decisions, right? So it's from the point that they are applying to schools to the point that they decide where they're going to go. We're seeing those updates throughout the process. And today, just so happened that there's about at least 12 schools that we know of that are
Yeah.
overlapping decisions. There could be more. And as we look at the feed later, we'll see more. But there's about 12 or so schools, including some really top schools that are releasing decisions. And what we want to really showcase is the fact that you don't have to go through this alone. You're not the only one applying to schools. And while there's a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety and things like that that can happen on days like this, there's also a lot of outcomes and pathways of what you can be doing next. And so those are some other topics we'll explore later. But yeah, the idea came to fruition just thinking of, NCAA selection shows or the college football show that popped up last weekend, or even like election day coverage. And this will not be a political event, but that'll be the last time I mention that. Where, let's just have some folks talking about MBA decisions. We'll use the feed that we have. We'll look at the updates as they come in. We'll talk to a few schools in the process, and hopefully, as you mentioned, it'd be a little fun, and we'll get some guests and some audience members who want to check it out, and let us know what they're thinking on a day like today, also.
Yeah, and I think we only have a few minutes before our first guest is going to join us today, right? Because we have you've arranged for a whole bunch of schools to jump on and talk about decision days, and I don't know how you got them to do this because they're probably busy making phone calls or reading, kind of finalizing decisions. But it's great. I know you have a really nice roster of folks lined up to join us. I think is it Emory Goizueta that's first up today, and but you've got some other. I saw on the list you got I guess what is Stanford and Kellogg and Hopkins and Georgetown. Yeah, there are a bunch of schools that are going to come on today, so that'll be fun to just hear from the front lines what they're up to, and maybe they'll give us some clues into like how are things looking this year, which could be useful for folks joining us who are thinking about round two. Like what's the pool look like this year? And, did they have a ton of applications or, I guess we'll find out what they're willing to share. Not everyone's going to share everything, but it could be interesting.
Yeah, no, and that's a great segue into kind of we can introduce ourselves, right? Let's get into it. We'll show folks
Yeah.
who we are, what we're talking about here today, and we can get into those guests as well because we do have a nice list of guests that I think would be really fun to meet. And so. I'm going to try something a little bit new here just because I think it might be fun for a way to show a little bit extra here today. So we have a cool background. We have some
Okay.
new things we're doing and trying out today with our stream. So again, my name is Mike. Really all you need to know about us is we're all from Clearmit, right? So we have three of us that'll be here throughout the day. I'll be here all day with you all. Graham's going to be here for most of the morning, and we're going to have Alex joining us a little bit later. I work mostly with the schools on our platform and was able to gather a nice list, and I'll put those up in a second as far as the timing throughout the rest of the day here that we plan on having. But I, love working with the schools, love days like this, and hopefully we'll be able to connect some of you that are in our audience with some of our great schools as we go throughout. So Graham, how about for your background, co-founder of Clear Admit, what's your background with admissions and what are you excited to talk about today?
Yeah, so co-founder Clear Admit. But before that, I worked in admissions at Wharton. Also got my MBA from Wharton many moons ago. And I love days like today because on some level, I helped create this tool called Livewire on the website, and to see how it's evolved over the years. I mean, there are tens of thousands of entries in Livewire, and so every year we see people posting, sharing, the good and the bad, how things are going. And our vision when we created Livewire was to kind of democratize the admissions process, right? So that everyone can kind of see what sort of results are out there, and who's getting in where, who's getting interviews, what sort of counting stats these individuals have, their GPAs, GMATs, GREs, all that stuff. So I love days like today, and I was so happy when you came up with this idea and asked if I'd jump on because yeah, it's like we get to see the fruits of everyone's labor over the whole course of the summer and fall. People have been waiting on this, and so it'll be really nice. I'm hoping that some of our regular podcast listeners are going to hang out today, and I guess they'll be able to. They can sort of maybe type comments over on the YouTube stream, right? And then we'll probably see those as they pop up. So if people have questions or comments, throw them in there. But no, this is going to be fun. And I just realized, Mike, aren't we? We're like what 20 minutes away from Kellogg's decision time, right? Aren't they 10 a.m. Eastern today? So that's the
That is correct.
first big domino to fall today in 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, yeah, and actually, we do have another thing I can show you all as well, with a list of what we kind of expect for the day as far as decisions go. And again, some of the stuff is, I wouldn't say subject to change, but there are some things here that we have a guess of what we think is going to happen, and maybe we're right, maybe we're wrong. But for the most part, here's what we expect to be happening today. We will be seeing decisions from Kellogg right around 10 a.m. Eastern. These are all Eastern times, by the way, for those of you joining us from other time zones. Thanks for joining us, first of all. And second of all, keep in mind that we're going to be working on an Eastern time zone for today's event. So this is what we expect, right? So 10 a.m. Kellogg, and for those of you, again, in different time zones, that means we're about 20 minutes out, as Graham has mentioned. And
Yeah.
Kellogg last cycle has moved to a full-on portal update, right? So that'll happen where there's kind of different ways that decisions can happen, and we're going to talk about that also throughout the day as a kind of another theme of what we look at on days like today. But the schools on the left-hand side, they're going to do portal updates only, really. So you're going to see at those times, you go onto your portal. If you're expecting a decision from those schools, it'll be live, and you'll see win, lose, or draw what you're doing with that school. So yes, 10 a.m. Kellogg, somewhere between 10 and 11:30 for Wharton. It does move around year to year from the times that we track. So want to give a range. I want people to be sitting there for the full 90 minutes. Sit with us for the 90 minutes, and we'll tell you when it happens. And then last, as far as the scheduled ones go, would be 12 p.m. with Harvard Business School. And then we'll end our stream kind of, a little bit after that goes live. So that's kind of our big three kind of scheduled decisions. On the right-hand side here, you can see all day decisions, right? And so what those schools are, they're calling folks. They are calling and then doing a portal update towards the end of the day. There are some schools on that list that are calling today, but don't have their portal update till tomorrow. And then there's also schools on that list that might be done calling already. We will see. But their portal update might be today. All right. So that's the all day side. And that's all day because things are happening all day. It's not all at once for all applicants in the round. And then the last list at the bottom is who might start to call. So as I mentioned, we got about a dozen schools we're looking at today. That bottom list, a lot of them might start calls today. We'll probably see more of their decisions tomorrow and later into the week. And this is just what's happening today, right? So there's decisions. We had decisions last week, earlier this week, and then into next week as well with all different schools. So Graham, I don't know if you're excited for any one of these over another, but there's a lot going on today.
I mean, now I'm kind of wondering if those folks at the bottom are going to feel some pressure based on this live stream. Are Amy and Lawrence and those folks up in Hanover at Tuck, are they thinking, geez, we better get on the phone and start making some calls? But no, you're right. I mean, some of these you never know because of exactly what you mentioned earlier. Some schools do a kind of process where they want to call everyone first who's been accepted, and then they do a kind of broad announcement on the portal. And I know there are pros and cons to this. I mean, some candidates love it. I know as a former admissions officer, it's actually a really nice moment to be able to, to call someone up with a decision. And I know Alex on our team, who's going to join us later, has some great stories about that too. But yeah, there's always different ways that you could do this. And, schools, as you can see, none of them necessarily follow the same path. Obviously we have Wharton, Harvard, and Kellogg today doing a kind of portal only. They might make calls afterwards, congratulatory calls, but they want to just get all the decisions out at once. But then you have Stanford, who as of a couple of days ago, they started calling people, and today's kind of the last day. And so I don't know actually whether they've already called everyone or whether there'll still be a few more calls coming out today and then a decision kind of portal update. But yeah, this is exciting. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And I see you've got you've got our guests here that you're working on here. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Some of these switching between, we're still working through this here, but yeah, full screen mode here. So these are the guests that we have in the first hour, right? So we're going to have more as we go throughout the afternoon and the 11 o'clock hour as well. But we're starting
Yeah.
off a couple more minutes here with Rachel Wagner, who is an assistant director of admissions at Emory Goizueta. So Emory is not one of the schools we just saw on that list we just showed. Their decisions were last week. So Rachel's going to be
Right.
able to
I
kind
saw
of
that.
put that to bed and be able to talk a little more freely just about how those all went last week. How the class is looking, if there's any exciting news coming out
Yeah.
of those calls or also out of Emory and Atlanta, right, coming up.
She's going to be zen because she's already done. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot going on with these other schools that are still getting decisions out the door. So she's probably already looking forward to the holidays, if I had to guess.
I would be on that as well. Yes, and
Yeah.
then right after that, oh, and here comes Rachel right now as well. So we'll get Rachel popped onto the stream in one more second here. Just want to also mention that we'll have Jen Howder from Johns Hopkins Carey joining us at the top of the hour at 10 o'clock. As a reminder, that's also right around the same time we expect decisions coming out of Kellogg's portal. And then at 10:30, we'll have Tony Gomez from Carnegie Mellon Tepper, similar to Rachel. Their decisions already happened last week. So kind of starting
Hmm.
things off a little lighter with these first couple of guests who can talk about how things already happened, while some of our later guests, might be in the midst of it all. So we'll get probably a different experience from some of those guests who might be hanging up from a phone call, picking up ours, and then jumping back onto another call afterwards. So we could have some fun with some of those guests later on.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm gonna just real quickly just get set up for Rachel as she jumps onto our stream here. Graham, any other thoughts just on things we can expect today?
I mean, I will say I know there's a lot of anxiety associated with waiting for decisions. And I think the beauty of round one is that obviously I hope everyone tuning in gets great news today and everything goes well. But even if you don't, you have this amazing opportunity where you can still apply to schools in round two. Whereas I think if we were doing this on say a round two decision day, everyone knows that applying in the final round for a lot of these schools can be quite challenging. And so I think it's round one is nice because you get this chance to you're getting some data and feedback on how things went, and you can then pivot if you need to and look at some additional programs in the second round. And we'll talk a lot about that over the course of this morning because there could be multiple reasons why after round one you might still be applying in round two, even if you got into some schools in round one. So there are a number of possible scenarios there. But yeah, no, I'm excited for Rachel to jump on. So let's see how things have been going over at Emory.
Yeah, and with that, so just a quick introduction with our next guest, Rachel Wagner, Assistant Director of Admissions over at Emory Goizueta. And thanks for being patient with us, Rachel, as we are queuing up our stream here and getting things kicked off. And you're our first ever guest at
Yeah.
a MBA Decision Day live stream that we've done at Clear Admit. So thank you for doing the leap with us and getting things kicked off.
For sure. Good morning. I'm very zen because we did complete our calls last week. So feeling
Yeah.
great.
I love that.
So
Yeah, no.
yeah, when was it last week? I've forgotten. I know we saw a bunch of entries come in on Livewire. Was it late last week or middle last week? I can't
It was
remember when you
mid
did it.
last week, and we usually do our release and then we have our call day. So
Okay, so talk about that because we were talking just before you came on about how schools do this. Everyone seems to do it differently. Some schools will
Mhm.
they'll hit the phones first and then there'll be like a portal update or an email update. Others do what you just described, which is get the decisions out to everyone and then start making some congratulatory calls. So yeah, tell us like what's the rationale there and how many calls do you guys have to do? It's a lot. I mean, it sounds like a ton of work, especially with people applying and getting in from around the globe.
I mean, it is nothing compared to round two, because that is a huge round of calls. But round one,
Okay.
we definitely release those decisions before we do calls so folks can see things, kind of process it, take it in. And then we do our calls, I want to say, 50 to 60 calls per person. And it is awesome. It is so much fun. Sometimes we have folks who haven't checked their portals yet. I had a student last week who was just a little too nervous to check. And then the call came in and they were so excited because they were like, I was so nervous, I couldn't check. And now I'm super excited. So it's just so much fun. We love call day.
So you got to share any tears on these calls. I mean, people must be pretty excited, and I mean, you must have folks who kind of literally are just tears of joy, kind of coming across the phone
You
line
get
there.
the
No,
full range of emotions. We've had tears, we've had folks screaming. I had a call where, again, they hadn't checked their portal. So I called, told them, like, congratulations, we're so excited for you to join Goizueta. And they put me on speaker because their partner was in the room and they wanted me to make the announcement to them too. So that was a lot of fun.
oh wow, oh that's so great. So each of you is making like 50 to 60 calls. What are the odds that like you actually call someone whose file you read or who maybe you met at a fair, or I mean, does that happen often? And if so, like that must be kind of especially rewarding. No, I mean, it's just got to be
For sure. We
really
do
touching.
want our directors, to have that really special connection with each of our students. And so we do try to make sure that folks who have already had some interaction, maybe at the beginning of the application process, or they've, talked during a session, an info session or something like that, we get to make those calls. And so I have several of my students who I've known them for months now, working through the process, and I get to be the one to congratulate them and tell them, I am your support through the whole enrollment process. I'm here for anything. It really, just compounds that trust in, your director and knowing that you're supported through the process.
Mike, do you have any questions on this? I have a couple more in mind, but is there anything you're thinking of, or
no? Go for it.
Go. All right. What I wanted to know, Rachel, is, I mean, what would you say to someone? I mean, we're focused on the good news today, right? I mean, this is an exciting day. There are all these schools giving out decisions, and really, I mean, these last 2 weeks are essentially what we call decision weeks, right, for round one. But what would you say to someone who doesn't get good news? I mean, is there any advice that you would have? Like, I know it can be really hard for people, and we're heading into the holidays, and so they might need to sort of pick themselves up, dust themselves off, kind of thing. But what's your advice to someone who's in that situation where they didn't get good news?
First, acknowledge, it is definitely tough to not get the decision that you were hoping for, and you definitely want to have space for those emotions, but try to refocus your perspective. It is not a setback. Every single thing that you're doing in this application process, every school you're engaging with, this is all a time to learn about you, your goals, your potential institutions that you're going to attend. So take all of these as just learning steps. And again, right now, there are still so many opportunities to apply. There are so many incredible institutions out there, and we are all ready for just the bright minds and, the thought leaders and innovators. So I would definitely, hold space for those emotions, but it is not at all a setback. Take it in stride and look forward to the future.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, I remember I applied to business school and I didn't get in anywhere the first time round. I was waitlisted at a bunch of places, and yeah, I just remember feeling absolutely crushed. But then I ended up, reapplying the following year, and things worked out fine. But it took me a while though to kind of pull myself back up and say, hey, wait a second, what could I do to improve, and focus on that instead of wallowing in in self-pity for the negative results. But yeah, so that is, you're right. I mean, there's so many great programs out there, and as I said earlier, people have that opportunity to apply in round two. I do want to ask you a little bit about Goizueta, though. I mean, I think everyone knows it's a close-knit, small program with a lot of great kind of, pretty impressive employment results that we keep seeing year after year in terms of the outcomes. But is there anything that you would say to someone who's, you made a bunch of calls last week, there's a lot of people who've been accepted in round one. What would you say to someone who's kind of thinking about Emory? Maybe they've already gotten in, or they're maybe thinking about round two. Anything in particular you want to call their attention to with regards to the program?
I mean, I think we just have such an incredible experience where we have that close-knit, intimate cohort where you are going to know every single person in your cohort. You will know their likes, their dislikes, their industries. They'll probably cry with them a little bit. And, the network is so strong here because you know every single person. You don't know someone just because you're a LinkedIn connection because you went to the same school. You genuinely know who they are, their strengths and weaknesses, and you are able to collaborate so deeply with them. But we have that experience in just the international global city of Atlanta. Atlanta is a hub for every industry that you can imagine. You all know, 70% of the world's financial transactions go through Atlanta. We have the Fortune 500s and 1000s. And then on the fun side, we have nature just 20 minutes away if you want to go on a hike, but we also have all the major sports teams. We do lots of like arena music tours and things like that. So it is a fun city as well. There is something for every single person here. But we truly have just so much access to industries, so much access to recruitment resources. And again, the strength of the Goizueta network, cannot be spoken highly of enough.
Yeah, and I had a chance to get down to Atlanta back in the spring, and I will say I'm originally from the Northeast, and so I have my like biases of the Northeast. And getting to Atlanta, I was really impressed with the kind of growth, and yeah, it just clearly you hear a lot about the sort of hot spots in the Southeast of the U.S., and it's definitely kind of leading the charge in that area. So just seems like there's a ton of opportunity, and as you point out, all these big companies, and that obviously facilitates career placement and things like that. So. Yeah. But yeah, so what are you going to do between now and the holidays? I mean, you still have another week or so of work, right? I mean, so do you kind of start looking towards round two? Is there other things that happen with the folks who've been accepted? Are you kind of connecting them with current students or all kinds of stuff before you get your little break for the holidays?
Yes, we have a lot going on tonight. We actually have our admit reception. It's like a networking event for all of our admits to come and talk to faculty, current students, and network with each other. But we also have a couple other MBA programs. We have our part-time, our evening, and executive programs, and their onboarding is this weekend. So we're kicking them off for their spring start. So we're hitting the ground running. We've got a lot going on.
All right, never a dull moment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do really appreciate you making time to kind of talk to us. As Mike said, this is our inaugural. We've never done something like this, and it just so happened that this year there's so many deadlines in this very, very tight band of a few days that we just thought it'd be a lot of fun to kind of track things and talk with folks like yourself over the course of the morning. And yeah, really appreciate you making time to do this. Mike, did you have anything that you wanted to tackle with Rachel before? It sounds like she's got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I don't want to take up too much more time. It sounds like there's a fun event to plan for and to rest up for. And I want to echo Graham's statement there with us being, new to this thing and allowing us to kind of take you on this journey with us to explore a Decision Day live stream, which, to me is already off to a great start because there's a lot of great information about Emory and Atlanta and just how these things go. So thanks so much for jumping on.
For sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and say hi to the gang. Say hi to Melissa and everybody over there from our side.
Will do. 100%.
All right. Thanks, Rachel. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, great. So let me just move back to our next portion here that I can share right here. And so, yeah, what's coming next here is that in about 5 minutes or so, we're going to be seeing them live. So I just wanted to make that update. And while we mentioned that, I also maybe, Graham, if you want, we can just kind of go over to Livewire for a little bit here while we wait for Jen to join us. And we can just kind of see what's going on.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Yeah, I don't know if you can do like a screen share or there. Oh, wow, look, you're already way ahead of me.
Graham, we're doing it all.
I would say it was really nice
today.
Yeah, it was really nice to have Rachel on and to hear about, that's it sounds like when they call people, like the 50 to 60 people that she got to call, they actually think about who's going to call who, and tailor it to based on like who you maybe interacted with in the process, which, that's where you get into some of the differences between some of the smaller programs and the really big programs where it just might not be possible to do it in a very, very large program. But a place like Emory, they're able to have that really personalized touch, which I think is a great thing. So, all right. So I don't see any Kellogg yet here.
Just to jump in for a second, I do think it's also great how, and you had asked the question about somebody who you've worked with, right? And we both worked in admissions offices or in these kind of spaces before where when you're working with somebody on an application and that pressure is on, right? That they have a dream, they want to go back to school, and it's so important to them. And when they get in, right, that is an exciting time. And I always say to people, they would thank me, like, thank you so much, and you helped me and you got me in. And it's like, I do nothing, right? Like when I was an admissions rep, I always said, like, I am just like your voice in the admissions committee. You did it all. And so I
You
always want to
didn't say
remind
you didn't
folks.
say like you didn't say I voted against you. Actually, it was everyone else that voted for you. So
Yeah, I wanted to keep a couple of bridges not burnt.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yes, we lied to some folks about that. No, but it is one of those things where people do get so excited, and you do feel that little piece like, did I help them? In a little sense, sure, right? Because you are that voice in an admissions committee when you have worked with somebody for so long. And sometimes those committee meetings do get pretty fun where you do want that person that you've worked with who has the stats, who has the background, you want to see them get into your program. So when they do get in and you get to call them and congratulate them yourself, I mean, that's to me just an awesome moment. So it was cool how
yeah,
Rachel was able to explain that that does happen in their office as well. And
yeah.
just cool to kind of follow that journey. So,
And a
so yeah,
little insider info here is that I still remember, working admissions at Wharton, we obviously the files go out for reads and somebody on the team gets a file to read, writes it up, and then it goes on to the next reader, et cetera. And schools always do this slightly differently, but in most instances, your file's read it 2, if not 3 times before a final decision is made. But what also happens is that then you go to committee. And in committee, if you were the main reader on the file, you have to present that candidate to the rest of the admissions team. So I'd be like, oh, this is Mike. He's really an amazing guy. Here's, here's how his interview went. Here are his numbers. And then there's a discussion. And so you're right. You are kind of the advocate for that candidate in the process. And now I'm reminded, I see that we have some Darden acceptances showing up, and I'm reminded that we asked Darden to pop on and join us today, but they said they can't because they're making phone calls. So obviously that's what's happening as we see on screen here right now. So they don't want to take a break from the calls, which I completely understand and appreciate. So I hope they're going well, but it seems like they're actively on the phone right now is because these have just come in, right?
yeah, these are live. You can hopefully see the timestamps. And if anyone's struggling to see it, this is Livewire. Go to clearadmit.com/livewire. You'll be able to see this yourself. There's also a sort function, which I'll scroll back up to, where if there are certain schools that you are interested in, and just for fun, we'll put it in, even though they are not live quite yet. I saw a comment in the chat about
Yeah, they're wondering when are the Kellogg?
when does Kellogg go live, right? So the screen share again, we're trying to do too many things at once, probably, and I have a screen share that's showing something incorrectly. So the Kellogg decisions are likely to go live any minute now, so keep in mind of that. But
Yeah,
we can
and
answer
we've
this
got you can see
question.
you can see all the people who got their interview invites or people asking, hey, when are they going to call or how does it work? So
Yeah.
these are going to go live any second, and people will obviously we need for people who get a decision from Kellogg to come to the site and post, but usually that happens very organically. So we'll see
That's
if it
correct.
works out. But I think I see Jen in the waiting room here, right? She's
Yeah.
here, right?
Yeah.
So
So
maybe
we
we
are
can
going
just
to pop on with Jen real quick here. And again, so as we look at Livewire, we'll go back to that after we meet with Jen, see what happens. But if you are awaiting a Kellogg decision, don't leave us. Just maybe open up your portal on a separate tab on your browser, and you can
Yeah,
go to Livewire. Let us know if you got in or not. And then when we come back after we speak with Jen at Johns Hopkins, maybe we'll take a look at your post. We'll take a look at who's getting in,
yeah,
what it's looking like there, and we can talk a little bit more Kellogg in the next couple of minutes here. So let me just get a
yeah.
quick little share switch so I can introduce Jen here, and then we'll get her
Mike, your
on
wizardry
screen.
today with Zoom is impressing me. I mean, this
I,
is yeah. All right,
if
so Jen
I
is
mean,
up
I
next. Yeah.
got the large espresso drink at Dunkin' Donuts was the place of
Oh,
choice.
now I know why. Okay.
So
Yeah.
I am buzzing this morning with decisions. Yes, very excited. So we will have coming up next in just another second or so, Jen Howder, who's the director of admissions at Johns Hopkins Carey. Now, Carey is one of the schools, Graham, that was on that list who are in the midst of decisions.
Yes, I
So
saw that.
there were some that popped on our site yesterday. I didn't scroll down far enough to show those on Livewire, but we did see a couple yesterday that popped over. So we will see from Jen's perspective where we're at with those calls, how things are going, and here comes Jen right now. So
All right. Oh yeah, here she is. Hey,
here we
Jen.
are.
Good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Good. How are things down in Baltimore?
Good, busy, but very good. Very exciting day. As you mentioned, you probably saw the post yesterday from anyone who had been admitted. We try and do our admit calls the day prior. So I'm glad to see that already you are seeing some decisions come in on Livewire. That's great.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, how does it work with your calls? Like, so we were talking with Rachel from Emory just before, and I wondered, like, how do you divide them up? And yeah, are you like calling people that you met during the process at a fair, or is it just kind of, no, let's just divide them up and, because they're obviously, there's a lot of people to call, I'm guessing. So, yeah.
That's a great question. And it's funny, I don't think since the time that I've been at Carey, which is a little over 2 years now, I'm not sure that we've done admit calls the same way twice at any
Okay.
point, because we just keep iterating on what we want to do. And it's considering we have a relatively small full-time MBA program. Our class is anywhere between 50 and 60 students. So we
Hmm.
keep it small, very intentional, which means we have a rather small admit pool per round.
Right.
And my team of recruiters, myself included, we can get a little feisty in terms of who is going to call who. So we've all met, candidates throughout the process, but then somebody might have interviewed them, so they feel like, oh, well, I interviewed them, I want to call. So it really becomes like you've got to fight for your candidates of who you want to call. So any of our admits, if you're listening, just know that probably 3 to 4 people fought to have that conversation with you.
Right.
Jen, that's funny
Yeah,
because
it
we were
is.
talking
Yeah.
about the fight to get the person into the program. Now you're talking about the fight of who actually gets to do that call. It's great. I mean, it's fun to have those types of conversations, right? When you all are passionate about helping that person, be able to accomplish their goals like that.
Yeah, and I mean, one of my favorite calls of all time still was one that I fought very hard to call. I typically don't make a lot of the calls because I'm not on the front lines recruiting, but I
Hmm.
do go to, many events of the course of the year. I particularly work a lot with our Forte partnership. So there's a lot of women that I meet out on the road through Forte, and when they get admitted, I fight very hard to be the one to call them. And there was a call that I made last spring that it was kind of like phone tag all day. The way I do my calls is I'll just drop a note and say, hey, I'd love to talk to you at some point today. Hopefully they
Hmm.
know when they get that email that that's not going to be a negative phone call, because that would just be
Right.
cruel.
Hmm.
And so a lot of times it just becomes like this back and forth. Sometimes I'll get a call right away on my phone, like they see that I've emailed, and immediate call. And there was a call last year that the day progressed and it got to be like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm on my cell phone and my husband's like, who on earth are you talking to like at 11 o'clock at night? And I'm sitting there like crying my eyes out. This candidate's like crying her eyes out, like, you've changed my life. And I'm like, no, like, you've done all of this. And it was just like that mutual like sob fest of like, no, I'm so happy for you. And no, I'm so happy for you. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's the way my phone calls tend to go. I don't know if my entire team is quite that emotional, but we do have our criers always. The enthusiasm, because I mean, it's a huge decision. At the same time that we're giving our calls, we also are telling them how much scholarship we're giving them. So a lot of times that's, fundamentally, if we're able to offer a full dean's, tuition, or we now have need-based aid, which can cover not only the full cost of tuition, but the full cost of attendance. So having those conversations too, like people just not only thinking about, okay, this next step is I can go to business school, I'm going to get my MBA, but to hear that on the phone, that,
Mm.
everything is going to be covered for you, those are the types of conversations that I absolutely love.
Yeah, and I do want to, it's so funny. Every year we get some people saying, "Oh, why do the schools do these phone calls? They should just, update in the portal." It's, but I guess, to get into the mindset here, I mean, when you're an admissions reader, you're spending so much time evaluating these candidates, and being able to get on the phone with someone at the end of the journey and deliver that good news is, it's like one of the perks of the job.
Yeah.
And so people do not want to give that up. I will say, speaking of the, kind of delivering good news, I see that there's at least one Kellogg. Kellogg just announced their round one decisions are starting to flow on Livewire, so that's great. You're also reminding me, Jen, then this is, no one knows this yet, but I'm going to unveil it. I just had a really amazing sit down with the CEO of Forte Foundation, Alyssa Sangster. We did a podcast, and it's going to air probably, in the next week, I think. It'll probably air before the holidays. And what an amazing discussion. You were talking about Forte and how they help women go off to business school, and some of the, scholarships and everything that they help to kind of facilitate. And it was just an amazing experience having her come on the podcast and talk about all, her journey. And yeah, I mean, because I remember when she first joined Forte, we were at less than 30% women in most MBA programs, most of the top MBA programs. And now we're, in many cases in the mid 40%, heading up towards half, which is great. But yeah, so that's coming. If anyone's a regular listener to the Clear Admit podcast, stay tuned for that. We're still doing the production on it, but it was a really fun conversation. And I can see why you fight for those candidates, Jen, when you see them coming through the pipeline.
Yeah, that's really exciting to hear that you got to meet with Alyssa. The Forte organization. It's one of the reasons that I wound up coming back to business school admissions. I was for a period of time at Johns Hopkins SICE, School of Advanced International Studies, and when I had the opportunity to return to an MBA program in business admissions, Forte was the top of my list as to why I wanted to come back and have that partnership and do that work.
Yeah. Can you, I'd love for you to just say a few words about Hopkins, Carey, and like what makes, you mentioned it's a smaller program. That sounds like Mike, our first guest at Emory, had a very small, relatively small program too. So we're talking to schools that have this kind of really intimate setting this morning. And I just wondered if you could speak a little bit to what Johns Hopkins offers, what makes the MBA unique there, maybe beyond just the fact that it's a nice, close-knit community.
It's a great question. And I'll be honest, when I started in graduate admissions about 10 years ago now, I think if someone had told me that Johns Hopkins had a business school, I would have had the same reaction of, oh, I didn't know that. And it has historically flown a bit under the radar. Johns Hopkins as a whole, obviously worldwide recognition. But the business school being a bit younger, even though we've had business classes for over 100 years at the university, the school itself wasn't founded until less than 20 years ago. So we are a very young school, but I think that's what I've enjoyed the most. And I can see that both on the staff and the faculty side of things, of it being a very fun place to work because you have a little more of that freedom, you have that agility. I have a professor who always makes the analogy that we're a teenager and our bones are not yet calcified. It's an interesting way of looking at it, but I think it's really true that we do have a little bit more freedom in how we do things. And that makes my job really fun, but that also means that the students have such an integral role in, the community and what comes next. So everything that has taken place over the past few years has been really student driven. We take that feedback very seriously. There's a continual loop of feedback. So each month, for instance, our full-time MBA students are coming together to have a community lunch, just a time to kind of meet together, but also bring forth any, questions, comments, concerns. And it could be as small as, a couple months ago, it was we took out the wrong vending machine from, one of their spaces, and they were a little upset that we removed their vending machine. Sometimes it's as simple as that, but then, there's the bigger, we want to see curriculum changes. We want to see more of this. And I think that's been so lovely to see in the time that I've been here, just how quickly it continues to evolve. I'm really excited about the trajectory of the program as, we have not previously participated in the rankings, largely just because we have been such a young school. I think when we were kind of approaching that point, COVID happened. So now we're kind of back at that point again. But for instance, finding out that we were rated number 21 from QS of, national business schools, that was a phenomenal feeling, and especially for our current students and our alumni, that really finally is giving them, the recognition that I think we all know Carey is this wonderful, magical place, but it's just kind of a hidden little gem. I'm excited for more people to find out about it, obviously, but at the same time, I think that is what makes it so special, is that it's such a small group. These students truly are, building these friendships and these networks. And it really gives them this place to feel safe, to take the chances. There's a lot of our students are not necessarily coming from business backgrounds. I think that's another differentiator of Carey's program is it's a lot of, STEM backgrounds, a lot of healthcare related backgrounds, not so much from the business side. So everyone can really come together in this program and take chances and try something new together.
Yeah, and I know I saw we were doing a Real Humans piece about students at Carey, and I remember reading some of their backgrounds. Yeah, some really interesting kind of science backgrounds, and makes perfect sense, right? I mean, obviously Hopkins is known, as you said earlier, the world over for the sciences and healthcare, and these, so there's some interesting opportunities, and yeah, it's exciting to hear, to hear about that ranking and to hear how the program's growing in, kind of reputation, and yeah, so it's as you say, kind of maybe something that people need to do a little bit more research into as they, because we were talking earlier about round 2 applications coming up. When is your deadline for round 2, by the way? Hopefully you know it off the top of your head, maybe not.
I should know these numbers off the top of my head. I should really read these numbers. It's right when we get back from the holiday break. Wednesday, January 7th is our round 2 deadline.
Okay, so noted, everyone. If you're tuning in and you're thinking about what you need to do in round 2, there's a deadline for you. Jen, I know, I understand from Mike that you've got to run to another meeting, so we don't want to keep you, but really appreciate you making time this morning to jump on. This is our inaugural kind of decision day watch party. We've never done this before, but we're having fun with it, so appreciate you making time.
I know, I love this. I would love to continue to see this happening, but thank you so much for having me this morning.
Yeah, of course.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, take care, Jen.
Bye.
All right.
So there's a lot of stuff been happening. I see like flurries of activity in the background here, but it looks like Kellogg decisions are out. And did somebody post a Wharton decision? Is that possible? I guess it is.
Let's go. We'll go one at a time. So we do have some Kellogg news that the portal is live. So it went live. It's seemingly right at the 10 a.m. hour Eastern time, which would be 9 a.m. Central. So right as we had expected at the beginning of our program here today. And I want to show some live wire. We do have someone who's watching us right now who let us know that the portal went live and then said they posted. So I'm not sure which one they are.
I think they were the first one. I think they might have been the very first one that came in.
First, right? So this may be them coming out of Brazil. Really solid test score. And obviously accepted to Kellogg. So congratulations to you, and thanks for joining us today to be able to help us share this news, but also celebrate you, because here you are. You have a seat in a business school program. You may not choose them. You may choose them. I don't know. We'll get to that later. But for now, let's celebrate the fact that you have admission somewhere. I always, I'm pretty frequented in the our MBA Reddit thread where, people who don't get good news, which we do have some of that on our site right now as well. It only takes one, right? So you get that one admit, take a little bit of a deep breath, right? You have a seat somewhere, and whether it's the one you exactly wanted or one of your backups, like you can go to business school. So congratulations to the folks that are receiving that news. And Graham, we mentioned earlier, right? Not everything is going to be good news, but it doesn't mean that you don't have options. So talk about this person here. I mean, pretty high test score. What do you think they should be thinking about and doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have a little more data, but 730, that's on the older version of the GMAT, but that's, kind of right around the average of a lot of top schools. They want to work in consulting. So obviously there are a number of business schools that could help them reach that goal. I will say, this process, it's not just a science. There's a lot of art to it. And so what happens is, as a result of that, is that, we see people getting into, one school and getting rejected at another. So just because you're rejected at Kellogg doesn't mean that you won't get an acceptance from, say, Chicago Booth or even Harvard. Like it's not always an exact science, right? And I'm not criticizing the way the schools do it. It's just, obviously there's a human element to this process. And also all these schools have different cultures. And sometimes, the admissions team may just really feel like you vibe with their culture. Another time they may not. I also think sometimes it's on the candidate, because candidates also have preferences, and it's hard sometimes to hide that preference when you're, and for example, if you're applying to, 5 schools, there's probably a couple of them that you're just dying to attend and that you've done a ton of research on, you're super excited about, and that's going to just shine through in your application materials. But I think you have you have the filter on maybe still for Kellogg. So that's why all we're seeing here is Kellogg. Is that what you're doing there? Yeah. So
just one other note as we look at Kellogg, right? So for folks that are maybe learning about us for the first time and thinking about, what is Clear Mid and what is this tool we're showing? This is called Livewire. So this is where we're tracking live decisions as they happen. It's why we thought an event like this would be really useful to folks, as you can kind of see the timing of when these things happen, see who's getting in. You also see some scholarship awards being listed on these posts. But right now, I've run into a little bit of an obstacle. If you
Yeah.
register, it's a free registration. We don't ask for a lot of information. You would get full-on results for Kellogg for all time. So just want to make that note. If people run into that, just click that button, click a registration really quick, fill out a little bit of information, and then you'll be able to sort these wire feeds by the schools you are most interested in. You can see the full list that we offer here, and if you can go do it yourself. But Graham, as we've mentioned a little bit here, and I do want to just share another little update. And we got this from Elliot, one of our other co-founders who is watching the stream as well. So thank you, Elliot, for sending this through to us. Wharton decisions are also live. So we'll go
Yeah,
back to
that's
Livewire
exciting.
in a second here. But yeah, Graham, I mean, you know a little bit about Wharton, I think.
Yeah, just a little bit. So I did my MBA, worked in admissions there. I always, it's funny, even though I've been, graduated many years ago and don't work for the school anymore, I do, feel this like nice affinity for the program. And I'm always excited when I see those decisions come out and yeah, just people celebrating their results there. So yeah, it's a great moment. And, it's also, you were pointing out, people need to log in order to sort and see everything that's happening on the site. It's free to log in and create an account. And the other thing that's nice is that allows you to comment. And one of the things I would love to see more of in our community is people like congratulating each other. You can just hit the comments button and leave. You can kind of leave somebody a comment if you're logged in.
I need to log in
but,
so I can show you all
yeah.
that. But yes, yeah.
Yeah. And don't show everybody your password, Mike, when you go to log in here, because
So I'll wait till our next screen share when we switch.
I'm just kidding.
And
But
as
yeah,
we
so this is interesting how early they did it though. They're like right on the heels of Kellogg, or maybe they all went live at 10. So that's
it
yeah.
seems like both were right at 10. And in our estimation, when we first started and looked into this over the past couple of cycles, we had put the range, as I mentioned, kind of like 10 to 11:30. And that's because there was 1 year, and this happens sometimes, right, with technical difficulties, right? It could just be very simple that something glitched and it had to wait and someone caught it and put it later. It is normally 10 a.m. for Wharton, so this is not a total surprise. I think we just wanted to, again, just kind of ease any thoughts or tensions or stress if it didn't go live right at 10. I like to be very careful with those predictions just because we want to be conscious of the type of news that people are waiting on and what it can do for somebody if that news does not come out on time, especially if
Yes.
what we think a reputable source that we are is telling you, sit down and expect this to happen at a certain time. So that was the one of the three of the Kellogg, Wharton, Harvard combination who have these kind of larger portal updates happening today. That was the one we were not exactly clear on the exact time. So that's now happened. We now have Kellogg and Wharton. Harvard will happen at 12, which is about another hour and 40 minutes from now. So definitely some time before we get to the Harvard results. What I've landed on here, Graham, is a wait list. And
yes, I was just looking at that.
Yeah, like positive news, obviously the negative news. Waitlist is, what is that news? Like, how do you really take that, and what should you be thinking about as a waitlisted person?
So I know when people get on the wait list, I would argue that the general sentiment around being waitlisted is usually negative. Like people feel, oh man, this is terrible. I would argue though that in round one, it's not so bad, and that your chances of getting in post round one, if you've been waitlisted, are actually quite high. So obviously, it depends on the candidate to some extent, and this person obviously needs to figure out like why are they on the list. What might have been missing in their file. I am seeing from the limited data that they shared here that the GPA is a little low or lower than the average at a place like Kellogg, and so then the question becomes, what did they do to address that? They have a stellar score on the GRE, which is the lion's share of what they needed to do. I do wonder if they went ahead and built like an alternative transcript by going out and taking some additional classes to kind of, show that, oh, I get A's in classes I take now, and that's the kind of student I would be if I came to Kellogg. I also wonder if there's any, kind of circumstances around that 3-2. Maybe they had a family emergency, or maybe there's something that happened during their undergraduate where they had like a bad semester, in which case presumably they would have explained that in their application. If they didn't, now would be a great time as part of their waitlist strategy to do so. But again, thinking about round one waitlists, I know people's tendency, as I said, is to be kind of down about it, but you should be more optimistic. The number of people that get off the wait list in round one is actually quite high. I often would peg it at maybe around 50%. It depends on the school, though. There are some schools where there's very little movement, and so it really does vary. A place like Stanford's going to have less movement on their list than some of the other schools because they have such a high yield. But in any event, it's obviously this person may get into other schools. Presumably they applied to multiple programs. They might have a round two strategy that they're going to deploy now as they kind of stay on the wait list and try to make things happen at Kellogg.
Yeah. Now, Graham, what's like a proper cadence for reporting back any new materials to that school, right? Because I do see that question a bunch on, can I email them every time something happens? Should I do like one larger update closer to the round two decision release? Any thoughts on that as well? Because I do want to make sure we help some of these waitlisted folks because it's almost, they feel like it's a ding, but it's not. Like you're still in the game. It's better. There's two results you want to hear today, and it's admit or waitlist, right? You don't want to hear the other.
Right. Yeah, I would say the cadence all depends on the school. Every school has their own kind of wait list policy. Some schools have a like no comms policy where it's like you're on the wait list, let us know if you're staying on or not, and then don't call us, we'll call you. Other schools have a very open-ended kind of, hey, if you have new information to share, you want to submit an essay, an extra recommendation, like there are all kinds of things that certain schools will allow for. So the rule number one is first understand the rules. The first rule of waitlist is know the rules of waitlist or whatever, right? So just make sure you know what you're allowed to do. Some schools are really proactive. They have like what would be called a waitlist manager who really like reach out to you and even in some instances have like a call with you to talk about why you're on the wait list and give you some advice about things you might want to think about doing. Other schools is a bit more hands off, but they still will allow for communication. So I can't remember off the top of my head how Kellogg does it, but I suspect that if this person were to go out and take, stats or calculus or accounting or, a bunch of courses and get A's in them, and they would be allowed to submit those transcripts. Again, check with Kellogg to be sure what the rules are. I'm sure that they've already gotten the letter that explains that. But yeah, so it's just a question of following the rules. But I think, before you do that, you got to obviously know thyself, look really carefully at your application and try to ascertain like what may have been the setback. Where might you be wanting? And that can help you to drive your strategy.
Absolutely. Yeah. That makes sense. And it is very key to understand. And as you mentioned, every school does have a different process slightly, right? So it is good to kind of connect with that specific school you are waitlisted at and make sure that you are kind of following that proper cadence and the proper way to follow up. There are a couple schools also have like a certain way you should submit those updates, even within your application portal. Sometimes I've heard. So definitely check in on that. I do want to mention, because we had a question in the chat earlier, when is Georgetown going to start? We have an answer. Georgetown started about 10 minutes ago. So the Georgetown calls have begun. And just as a reminder for folks who are hanging out with us, we will have Ann Kilby, who is with the Georgetown team. She'll be on at 11 a.m. So about another 35 minutes from now. And probably will be one of those examples of somebody who might be involved with calls, might not. We can ask her about that. But joining us right in the midst of when decisions will be happening with that program. So thank you to the person who submitted this post to alert us to the fact that Georgetown has started. Very exciting times for those awaiting multiple schools. So, live right now, we have, Wharton and Kellogg, both with their portal updates. The Georgetown calls have begun. So we're in the thick of it. We have, multiple schools kind of happening all at the same time.
Yeah.
Livewire is getting busy.
I want to give a shout out to, there's someone who posted in the YouTube feed here in the comments that they got into Kellogg. So I wanted to congratulate them on that. I see Lauren from our team dropped a little party hat in there for them. But yeah, no, it's really great to hear all these nice bits of news from folks. And yeah, I guess I don't know how Ann is the dean of admissions or what, the top person over at Georgetown McDonough. I guess she's just going to take a break and come and talk to us, which is great.
I mean, listen, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if she were to take a call on our screen, we would,
probably not.
That would be golden. So we can ask her if that's something she's willing to do. But yeah, I think it's awesome to have folks joining us. We had Rachel and Jen already, Rachel from Emory and Jen from Johns Hopkins. Awesome conversations. And again, just thankful for folks, both our guests, Also, our team from Clear Mid, a lot of us are helping out today, pretty much all hands on deck, which is really fantastic to see everyone coming together to do an event like this. And all of you that are
Yeah.
watching and sharing these results, and whether it's posting to the Livewire, I'm also seeing posts on our Reddit threads that we've produced to alert us to these things. So this is what we enjoy doing. This is what Clear Mid's all about. We want to be that place where MBA applicants, business school applicants in general, can come and hang out and talk about the process, learn about the process, and celebrate, hopefully for the most part together. Obviously sometimes
Yeah.
it's not all celebrations, but listen, there's pathways forward, right? There's kind of ways you
Yeah,
can
totally.
move forward still. It's not the end of your journey, it's just another decision point, and you go from there, and
And
that's why they have multiple rounds.
And I thought this might be a good opportunity. Actually, I know we have a guest coming up, right? Don't we have Tony from Carnegie Mellon Tepper coming up in a few minutes
Yes.
here, if I remember correctly? So, but before he jumps on, I think this might be a good opportunity to just mention Decision Wire. So I think everyone out there, or most people, know about Livewire because it's the place that you share kind of live updates about things that have just happened to you. I got an interview, I got rejected, I just applied here, I'm gonna, I just got accepted there. But we have this other tool that I think isn't as well known, but that we have a ton of data in. And Decision Wire, what's great about Decision Wire, it's where you go after you've got some of your results, and you can literally share like, oh, here are the schools I applied to, here's where I was accepted. And at this time of year, a lot of these are like, I got into one place because people are putting them in as they kind of get news. But normally, if you scroll down further, I suspect we'll probably eventually see some folks who are like, oh, I applied here and here and here, I got into these, and we'll see more of this as the week goes by. But here's someone who got accepted to Tepper, Emory, and Kellogg, and they're undecided about where to go, so they post a bunch of questions about that. And so this is a really fun tool because you can either share where you're attending, or you can share that you don't know where you're going to go, and you can get feedback. You can see Alex on our team is weighing in, and they had some conversation with the person about where to go. If memory serves, this might have been like someone who was looking at like 1-year accelerated MBA programs, because again, there aren't many decisions out yet for full-time 2-year MBA programs. But Decision Wire is a really fun tool. Also, people share their scholarship amounts, so it's a great place to go to mine that data. Like you can go into Decision Wire. If you're registered on our site, you can sort by a school that you're particularly interested in, and then see everyone who got in there and how much money they were given. And then you could look at their profile and be like, oh, people with these kind of numbers and this kind of background are getting this kind of money. So it can be really useful. And so I would encourage people to look at that as well. Probably after you get all your decisions in round one, and you have a dilemma that you're facing, or exactly where you're going to go, it's a great place to share that. And you can see the little dollar signs are where the money is. So this person, if you mouse over, you can see they got, what is it? I can't even read that because I don't have my glasses.
That
That's
says,
like
I can
30
see
grand.
30,000 at Cornell, correct.
Yeah.
And Graham, and you're being a little modest here because you're glossing over that this particular post that we just looked at was
that's right,
covered
yeah.
on one of our Wiretaps episodes. Wiretaps is the podcast hosted by Graham as well as Alex Brown, who's our community manager. Alex Brown also, we mentioned this at the onset, he'll be joining us in about a half an hour as well to
Yes.
provide
Yeah.
his takes on the day. So we can talk a little bit more about Wiretaps at that point.
Sure.
I also do want to mention one last note. I'll go back to Livewire really quick, and then Tony is here. We'll get to Tony in 1 second here. But Elliot on our team as well, who's helping us keep track of all this, as I'm looking at too many screens probably. And let's see if I can find it. There it is. So Dartmouth
Tuck,
who is
all right.
a little of a surprise, right? Because we had them on our list of a might start today.
Yeah, they're going to the phones.
So
yeah, all right.
they've hit the phones.
It's an exciting day.
If you're a Tuck applicant and you are expecting something, first off, don't panic because the main decision day is posted for tomorrow. So you will have plenty of time. But calls have started. So if you do see a call from, and I don't know the zip code, the area code in Boston, but if you know the area code in, not Boston even, sorry, I'm looking at the application. Hanover, New Hampshire, right? If you know New Hampshire's area code, pick up those phones today. Do not let it go to spam because they might be calling you with some good news. So,
yeah, and also just to underline the fact not to panic. If I remember correctly, historically they take a couple of days to call people. So if you don't get a call today, you might get one tomorrow. It's not a guarantee, but that's been my experience in the past. So no need to panic. But it is nice to see another school, getting out there with calls today. So a lot of fun. But I know we have Tony in the green room somewhere, so you're going to bring him out here, right?
We are, yeah. He will not be trapped any longer.
There he is. Right.
So I'll introduce our next guest, Tony Gomez, who's a Senior Associate Director, Carnegie Mellon Tepper. And let me make sure I'm selecting the right thing here to bring him on because I have, again, too many screens in a good way because we want to make sure everyone gets some good airtime here, and here he is.
Hey, Tony, how are you doing?
I'm good, Graham. How are you? Hi, Mike.
Hey.
Yeah, we're well. We're having fun. I mean, this is our
I can
first time
tell.
doing something like this, but it's been a lot of fun so far. The time is kind of flying by, and yeah, I wanted to ask you though. So you guys got your decisions out last week, right? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct?
Last Wednesday's when we started releasing decision, making calls.
Yeah. So to take us through some of that, like, did you get to make some of the calls yourself, and how do you guys like divide up the calls, and then you do like a portal announcement after you've made all the
Sure.
calls? Is that how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what we try to do with this is that we try to partner the calls with students who interviewed with that admissions officer a lot of times, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that way, there's already that connection established. There were those, points talked about during an interview that they can bring up in that call, even, right? So try to do a lot of intentionality behind that. There are also certain populations we like to partner with that population lead, for example. So one of my colleagues, Kate, she oversees our partnership with Forte, try to make sure that she's connecting with those who would be eligible for Forte, right? I'm the Rhomba lead myself, so I will connect with those who are eligible for Rhomba, so on and so forth. But yes, I take
Yeah.
a share of the calls, and all of us except for well, no, even including our executive director, make those calls on that day.
And it's take us through a little bit. I mean, sometimes candidates are like, oh, why don't they just, release it all on the portal? And why are they making these phone calls? Because from the candidate side, they're like waiting to be called or they're nervous.
Yeah.
But I know from my experience in admissions, it's like a really rewarding time. And as an admissions reader, you like to be able to, especially if you interviewed someone, which it sounds like that's how you guys are matching up. And I mean, it must be fun.
Oh, it's definitely fun. It's definitely rewarding. I tell all of our students, that I remember my criers. So there are those students who get overly emotional, very, very emotional on the phone, and they just can't help it, right?
Yeah.
So I spoke with one candidate who, she didn't cry, but all she kept saying was, "Oh crap! Oh crap! Oh crap! Oh crap! Oh crap!" She couldn't believe it. Right? That's all she kept
Yeah.
repeating during it. So just to see that excitement, hear that excitement on the other phones, it is really rewarding. My background is entirely in education.
Mhm.
And, through all my education, I've always believed, college, graduate school, doctoral programs, these are the ways to change your trajectory in life, right?
Yeah.
This can change everything for an entire family for years to come. So this is really the start of a lot of these young people's lives going through one of these programs.
Yeah, and you're preaching to the choir here because I mean that's what we at Clear Admit are big believers in the power of management education specifically, but yeah, just the power of it to transform people's careers. Yeah, so is there any kind of like do you guys get together to make these calls? Or you're like, no, I'll just be at home today making these calls, or is there any kind of celebratory moment? Or I mean, because now you guys, unlike say the folks at Tuck today who are just now beginning to make calls, you guys are kind of in the clear on round one. Like, are you guys already planning the holiday party, or like what's going on now, and how do you guys do this?
I don't know if we're ever really in the clear. There's still a lot of work to be done, right?
Yeah.
Especially that yield side of things.
Sure.
But we don't get together to make the actual calls because we're calling all over the world as well. So some of those
Right.
international calls will happen the night before. But we want our admissions officers to be comfortable while they're making the calls, right? Maybe that's, wearing your oversized blanket hoodie and drinking cocoa while you're doing this thing too, right? But no, last Friday we all got together at one of these entertainment complexes in Pittsburgh that has like the bowling, laser tag, arcade,
Nice.
things like that. And that's how we celebrated a strong end to our round one.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. And I know you have a great team over there, and I'm happy to hear that JR is still getting on the phone sometimes to call admitted students. But tell me a little bit about so, you just talked about yield and, it's not over once you've admitted people. Just say a few words about why Tepper is a pretty special place. And I mean, we just on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, we were looking at employment reports, and one of the things that really struck me was, there were a few schools that were at the top of the heap when it came to placements in tech, and Tepper was one of those. I think it was maybe even the second most in terms of the percentage of students going off into that field among top programs only. And yeah, so is there, tell us a little bit about, the pitch that you're making to someone who's been admitted and why it's a special place.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the pitch is simple. It's the people. It's the community. We are one of the smaller programs, but small means more individualized attention, right? It means more opportunity in a lot of cases. So you may be at a school that is larger, that's getting attention from large companies like Tepper, but if you have 200 students who are going after the same position as you are, that decreases your odds severely. Whereas you may have that same company coming at Tepper, but there may be 10, 15, 50 people going after that same job, right? So that increases your odds of hopefully securing that position afterward. Carnegie Mellon itself, it is a hub of innovation, right? We are the birthplace of modern AI. And if you want to be trained properly on AI, you're coming to Carnegie Mellon to learn from the best in the world by those people who've developed these systems today, right? We have these partnerships currently happening with NVIDIA. I believe that we have partnerships with, oh gosh, I'm going to go blank here and I apologize. Microsoft within our Sports Center of Entrepreneurship, right? I believe that we're doing something with OpenAI as well. We are this nexus of where this innovation currently in AI is happening. And the Tepper School is right alongside of it, incorporating it within our curriculum, right? We're not just teaching students how to write a prompt and go from there, right? We're lifting the hood and showing you, hey, here's how this language learning model really works and how you can implement it for all sorts of different situations that you're going through.
And speaking of this, I'm now reminded that tomorrow we're doing an event with your executive director, with JR, and with three different individuals from the careers team. And you're talking about kind of small, and it's the people and the kind of attention that you get. And this event is about kind of navigating your career in the current kind of job market. And so, if I remember correctly, there's somebody in the careers office. There are three different people, and they're one's specialized in consulting jobs, the other in kind of finance, and the third in tech. And they're going to talk about, kind of what they're seeing out there as they place MBA grads into these top firms. But that's going to be a lot of fun. Mike, do you remember when it's tomorrow? And is that at noon Eastern, or is it at a different time? He's nodding.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's a link
so that
in the chat right now to join that session if you are interested. So sign up.
Yeah.
Even if hopefully you're interested in Tepper, even if you're not though, but you're interested in MBA careers, I think the fact that you're going to have some insider knowledge coming from career professionals, I think anybody watching today interested in any of these schools could find some use in some of that knowledge as they prepare to enter business school. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are folks with their ear to the ground on hiring at, MBB and places like Amazon and all the kind of darlings of recruiting that people want to work for. So yeah, I just wanted to call attention to that because I had forgotten that we're doing that tomorrow. And so Tony, that's a brilliant idea on the part of you and JR and the team to, give us access to those career folks and to talk about a really important issue.
Oh, that is all JR. I will not take credit for that. That's his brainchild.
Yeah. So are you guys, is there anything that you do with the round one admits, like in terms of like, is there like a welcome event that's happening soon? Or are you already gathering people together, in like regional spots, or is there anything happening on campus for people who just got in, or is that going to be in the new year?
So that'll mainly be within the new year. Right now, campus is winding down for the holiday break, for the winter break. That will start for us at the end of next week. But we are having regional coffee chats with our current students. So when they're going home, they'll be hosting some coffee chats during the winter break. And it's not just going to be domestically, that'll be internationally as well. So people can visit our events page on our website to sign up for some of those coffee chats. Admissions officers will also be going out in January to some major cities domestically to host yield dinners. So that way candidates can get to know each other a little bit more. We'll have some alumni who are there too, who can share their experiences from the program and their journeys as well. And then we will have our standard welcome weekend in March.
Okay. Yeah. And I don't think, a lot of applicants probably don't really know about this, but one of the greatest things about getting into business school is the schools kind of roll out the red carpet and do these welcome events or admitted student weekends. They're a lot of fun, highly encouraged attendance at those. It's a great way to better get to know a program. Tony, I also wanted to ask you a question about, this is something we haven't talked too much about today, but if you are not getting an acceptance and let's say you're on the wait list, any advice like for someone, because I was saying earlier that, I think when people get a wait list decision, especially early in the process, it can be kind of demoralizing and they might think, oh, I've basically been rejected. And but any advice you would have for someone who finds themselves on a wait list?
Yeah, absolutely. Do not consider yourself rejected at all. A wait list is not a rejection. A wait list is wait, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times with round one, we see, I'll be very frank, truly exceptional candidates, right? Candidates who have who've been thinking about this application maybe since May, right?
Mm-hmm.
April, who have had this time to stew over it, who've had this time to perfect it, right? And that's what we're seeing. Right? We're not saying that we don't want you. We're just saying, hey, let's see what else comes in for round two, round three, maybe round four, and let's reassess and see where we are. If you're a candidate, you still have some control over this process, right? There's still some areas that you can work at. You can retake your standardized test if that's an area where you think you may have had some room to improve, right? You can connect with current students. So that way you get somebody in your corner who can advocate for you to the admissions committee. You can still attend our events to show that demonstrated interest as you're going through. I have had students write quote unquote love letters to Tepper, right? Explaining why we are their number one choice and how they think that, their lives are going to change by coming to our school versus one other.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a really good point. I would argue on some levels for me, if you're waitlisted, it feels like the school is saying, we can envision you coming here. You have what it takes, but we need a little more time. And arguably, having been on an admissions team before, I think some of it is also, especially in round one, you don't yet know what you're going to see in round two from the candidate pool. And so you might say, this person's good. They could easily fit in here, but let's just, wait and see what we have in round two. And then, and so I feel like a lot of people who are waitlisted early end up, converting somewhere because it just, you have better odds than if you're waitlisted in the final round of the admission season. There's just less movement that could happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anything else? I know you probably have a busy schedule. I appreciate you making time to come on and talk with us today. But
of course,
Mike, did you have anything else for Tony today, Mike?
No, I just want to, thank Tony. I think, Tony, you mentioned, there were some comparisons you made to the NFL draft coming to Pittsburgh of us hosting kind of like an analysis type of a program today. So I appreciate the high level of expectation you had for this event that we could be in the same thought of the NFL draft with the first place Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe, correct?
I'm not a sports fan, so I do not.
Okay, I will say I do believe they have beaten the Ravens last weekend. I think that puts them back in the first. So, yeah, Sportstown, Pittsburgh, good stuff around. But no, I appreciate you joining us and jumping in. And we look forward to the event tomorrow as well. I know I probably won't see you at that event. I think it's going to be JR representing Tepper's admissions office. But I'll be there, hopefully, learning a lot about career placement at Tepper. So hopefully folks will join us who are interested.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. We appreciate it. And good luck with the rest of the day then.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Say hi to the gang over there.
Will do. Bye, guys.
All right, take care.
All right, so wanted to pop in with just like an update of where we're at today, right? So the first update is just, here's the guest.
Oh, we still have more guests.
We will. We're going to have more.
Yeah,
we have a gap, right? So we're going to have a little break. Yeah. And then as you see, the 11 a.m. hour, we're stacked up. We're going to have people every couple minutes here, which is awesome. And as we already mentioned, so Anne coming in from Georgetown, she's in the midst, her team at least, is in the midst of making phone calls today. Then we're going to have Emily Hayden, who was with the Kellogg team, who just released their decisions about an hour ago. Not even an hour ago yet. By the time she's on, it'll have been an hour. So it'll be interesting to just hear perspective of, what that looks like, what the team is thinking about how that release went. If there's any news she wants to share about Kellogg and all of that. 11:30, Will Torres from Stanford. Now, Stanford is one of the programs on our list who's not really doing too much today. A lot of their activity was over the last 2 days, and we'll show you that on Livewire as we scroll down. But the portal update happens today. So the final note will happen today. And so Will can kind of fill us in on how that process works over at Stanford. And then our last guests that we have on the agenda here are Diego and Andrew, both from Juno. And we'll get into this at the end, but we thought it would be great. They're a financial aid partner with us, and they help folks obtain, student financial aid, student loans. And so for those who are looking at those next steps of, hey, I got admitted now, I got to figure out how I'm going to pay for all this, right? It's like these guys can kind of give you a little feedback on what that environment looks like right now, what the changes are to federal loans for our domestic students that are watching. So anyways, I don't want to spoil too much, but they'll share more about that. And then after they get off, we have Harvard decisions, and then we're probably going to close out. I'll also mention Alex Brown will be joining us for that 11 a.m. hour, so he'll be part of all those conversations and leading into the Harvard release at 12.
And I will say it's kind of fitting that we've got the Juno folks joining us, because that's a company that was founded by HBS students, and HBS will be issuing their decisions right after we talk with them. And, just before people think that's some kind of like promo, I mean, Juno is actually really interesting, because all they really do is gather up all the top candidates who've gotten into these great business schools and then go to the banks and say, hey, we have like a gazillion people who need to borrow money for business school. So come at us with your best possible loan rate, which is just a brilliant kind of group buying sort of approach, as you would expect from a couple of MBAs who founded the concept. So yeah, and it's like a free thing to join, and then you can just see what the rate is and opt in or not. So anyway, I'm sure they'll explain that much more eloquently than I just did. But Mike, we have about 10 minutes before Alex Brown is going to jump on, and then our guests as well. So it's going to be, I did see there's still lots of decisions coming in. I see a rejection from Carey. That's a bummer. I don't like seeing the red. The sea of red. We try to avoid. We want to see lots of green on Livewire. But obviously, you can't get in everywhere. And obviously we're seeing lots of Kellogg and Wharton seems to be dominating the day for now. I wonder if more of those Tuck calls are coming in.
Yeah, I did log in, so you can see now.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Hit a comment right and just say a quick little. Congrats.
That's nice.
We are looking at this from our live stream.
Yeah, there you go. And also it's easy. If you don't feel like writing, you can also always just hit a like. People, want to be appreciated or celebrate their wins. So you can hit a like and show them that you're excited for their acceptance.
There you go. So I'll do both.
Yeah.
There's also ways to be notified of follow-ups on those comments. So if you are a registered user that wants to then see if anybody responds to you, you should hit that button as well. So lots of ways to be part of the community, to talk with other applicants. Honestly, there are some folks, and I've heard this before, who meet people on our site, and they will then, journey to school together, and they, went through this journey by posting and commenting and starting some of these relationships on our platform. So feel free to start doing that. As mentioned by a couple of our school guests, there's plenty of ways that each individual school will also connect you to your classmates as you arrive. But before you get that, or if you're not sure which school it is just yet, we have all the schools, right? So come join our community, and you can make plenty of friends across all the different schools that are here. So just wanted to make sure I showed that comment process as well.
One thing I noticed over on YouTube where people are watching live is that there've been some comments about Darden specifically, and there's two flavors that I saw. So one was just, hey, when is their portal going to update? And Mike, if memory serves, is theirs tomorrow, but they might be doing calls and things today? I can't remember what the deal was with them. Or they wanted the ongoing.
Let me double check that for you.
And the other thing that was put up is someone was like, what about, and this is a great point, someone is wondering about movement on wait lists from people who are waitlisted in some of these schools have like an early decision round. So that would have been deadlines back in September, and those decisions already came out, and people are wondering like, because now they've issued round one decisions, are they going to be taking some people off the wait list from the early decision round? I have yet to see someone post on Livewire saying accepted from wait list, but we may see some of those. At the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if most of that activity happens with the round two decisions, because schools like to really have a full view of the pool, and arguably they will have 80% of their pool by the time round two applications show up, because there are far fewer applications in the later round. Yeah. So what is the deal with Darden? Did you find it? I know that you
Yeah.
shared this earlier and I can't find it.
Yeah, so Darden is one of the schools who will be calling today, and then their portal update will happen later this afternoon. So,
Okay. So yeah.
exactly what time, it's always tricky. I usually just like to clarify afternoon because every year is going to be a little different. It kind of depends on how many calls they have, how quickly those calls go, right? So the timing
Right.
sometimes is a little off. So, and not off from Darden's perspective, it's off from our ability to predict that. I just want to make that clear as well. When we're talking predictions and we have to figure out the times, the schools know the times, and if the school tells us, that's great. But otherwise, we're going off of historical data on Livewire or just other ways that we've been tracking this stuff over the years. So the timing, I will just say, end of day is probably a safe bet. And they are an East Coast school. So end of day will be probably 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern. It could be before that. And sometimes it is before that, but we'll say end of day. And it is today, December 10th is their listed date for decisions. So yeah, just wanted to make sure I shared that. And then Graham, there was actually one other note that Elliot brought up, who's watching on the stream, just about Decision Wire again. And I'll go back to it on the share screen here. But we talked about how useful it is, when you know what school and stuff, but also just how useful these undecided posts are. And if you are somebody who's watching right now, who has multiple offers in hand, and you want us to
Mhm.
be looking at this stuff, I mean, we can be doing some of these things live, right? I mean, it's kind of fun to look at this, but you can put in the schools that you've been admitted to, the schools, as well as that scholarship amount, and then some of the kind of your outcome thoughts and your goals and your dreams. And then our team does comment, right? So there's ways that we can kind of help you through this stuff, whether that's from the perspective of the career opportunities offered at those schools, if it's the ROI that you may have on those scholarship amounts, all different things. So if you're somebody who just wants a little extra help on like, where do I go now? If you have multiple offers, which by the way, if that is someone, that's awesome. One offer is amazing. So multiples is obviously beyond.
Yeah.
So, hopefully I'm talking to like, a really good cream of the crop group here, but, feel free, jump in, put an undecided post in. And then what we love to see also is come back when you do decide and let us know what you picked and why you picked it. It's just good for our community to see kind of, if you pick a school because of a certain reason or something that you learned or something that you found out during the process. Some of those things could come at those admitted student events that our guests have been mentioning so far, or it could
Yeah.
just come from some of the advice that you get from friends, family, coworkers, what have you. So, yeah,
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure
And
I underline that for you, Graham. Yeah.
yeah, and one other point I wanted to make if we go back to Livewire is I'm
Yep.
getting a little bit I got in trouble because I was saying how I don't like to see the rejections come in, but I will say Elliot on our team pointed out that it's actually really valuable to see the rejections too for the candidate pool, right? Because you're trying to understand who gets in and who doesn't, and maybe some of the reasons behind it. So obviously, if you didn't get in, share that too. We want all the data. It's really useful data. We have a lot of tools, including an entire data dashboard on the website, all free if you're a registered user, which is free to join the site. You can sort, you can look at historical data. As I said, we have years and years of historical data on admissions outcomes at all these schools. So it can be really instructive if you've got your heart set on a given school and you're going into the application process to be able to sort and just look at outcomes, both, good, bad, and wait lists, et cetera. So it's all there on the site. But yeah, still lots of Kellogg news coming in and Wharton too, I guess. So it's yeah, bit busy day. And we've got only 5 minutes before we head into this crazy hour, which is going to take us through a whole bunch of guests. I hope that I got to say before they come on, Mike, I hope that none of them are too talkative because otherwise they're going to run into each other's segments. And then we got Harvard at the end of it all. So it's going to be, yeah, a crazy last hour here.
Yeah, and again, for those who've joined us, we're 80 minutes into this thing. This is our first ever Decision Day watch party, right? We haven't done this before.
Yeah.
We do this on the site. So we are very aware when this stuff is going on. We know when these dates pop up. And so we always track it and we're active on our own web platform. We just thought for one time, hey, there's, a dozen or so schools, a couple surprises we already saw in the case of Talk and a few others that have started their calls a little bit earlier than even we had originally thought. It's fun to kind of talk about this stuff live while it happens instead of just doing it on the site. So you can hopefully see the excitement that our team has for this type of stuff. That's why we offer these tools on our site. And again, win, lose, or draw, it's fun to see where you're at. It only takes one admit. So if you don't get that today, hopefully there's another school this round or in future rounds that you can get that from. So, continue your journey, put your best foot forward at those schools. And any minute now, just as an update on our time, we do have 4 more guests in the next hour, including our financial aid partner, Juno. Alex Brown from our team, who co-hosts our Wiretaps podcast, will also be joining us any minute now as well. As we
where
jump
is he?
into the next hour. I don't know. He's your
No, he's
co-host
got to
on
be
the
coming.
I thought you guys are like
Yeah.
in tune there, so you should know.
I know. I think he was teaching a class, so he's probably going to be racing
Probably.
from doing that to coming on with us. So, I'm just joking around, but
Yeah, no, hey, we're having a good time. And then someone just in the chat excited to hear from Anne. We are as well. So Anne will be joining us as well at the top of the hour. So we're gonna have a couple of new
Yeah.
folks to listen to, which Graham might be good. I don't know. I think we're
people are
okay
getting sick of
with
us.
hosting and voices, but yeah, I mean it's almost 2 hours, and so people might
Yeah.
get tired of us. But yeah, so again, lots of great news. Continue to share your results on Livewire so we can continue to show it up on the stream here. And Decision Wire as well. Again, if these are your last schools you're hearing from this round and you are looking to get some more information about where to attend, like this guy right here, or man or woman or person, no scholarship, but so fired up. We're fired up
Yeah,
for you.
nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You don't need the scholarship. You need that position at the school. And
Yeah.
there's other ways for funding, which we'll talk about later as well. So this is awesome.
Yeah, it's also just amazing to see. I will say, as someone who did not have a 3.5 plus kind of GPA as an undergrad, I'm always impressed to just see. I like to tell myself that this is because everyone has higher GPAs than they used to back in my day, but I think it's also that I wasn't as good of a student as I probably could have been. But it is amazing to just see, some of these test scores and, as I say, the counting stats. Here's someone from China and Shanghai who got in, and they have almost 10 years of work experience. They didn't share their test score, but they mentioned it was lower than average. So yeah, they say they're lucky. I would probably say they're good. They probably have something in their background that's really intriguing to the community, to the admissions committee, and they probably made a compelling case. So I just love seeing these stories.
That's another thing to mention too, right? It's stats are always the thing that's going to pop up and jump off the page on these profile reviews, or when you're an applicant and you talk about your background, you're going to say your work experience, your test scores, and your GPA. But there's so many other components to applications that it could be any little aspect that just kind of piques the interest of that admissions committee and could kind of start that pull on that thread of like, there's a little interesting tidbit somewhere, right? And they want to learn more, and then they'll give you that interview invite, and then who knows, like you could have sold it on the interview invite at a school like Kellogg, who does interview a little bit more typically than other schools that are releasing decisions today. So that could be an opportunity where maybe this person, even with a lower test score, could have really sold themselves in that interview process if they were given that opportunity. And that could be the way they got in, right? That we don't know. And I think anybody who says they exactly know why they got in, they don't. But we can all guess and we can all have fun with that. And congratulations to this person sitting in Shanghai who has some great news and probably stayed up pretty late to receive that news as well. So I always just want to shout out to the folks who are hanging out with us late night, early morning, whatever that may be.
It's got to be close to midnight, right, in Shanghai, right? I mean, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think they're like, so yeah.
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 Yeah, so again, we're just waiting on our next couple of folks to be ready to pop on.
Should we take bets on who's going to come first? You think it'd be Alex or Anne from Georgetown? I wonder who's going to manage to jump on first. We shall see.
That is the battle of the A first names to jump in. Another darting call, just as we're scrolling down here, just to kind of look through
10:41.
So
10:41.
So they're still moving along. That was about 15 minutes ago or so. And again, if you want to continue to provide those updates to show us what is happening, like put your post in, let us know what's going on so we can continue to show everybody how these data points continue to come out, which schools are continuing to call, so we can answer more of those questions of when will that portal update. Again, there's still calls going on at Darden, it looks like, so there's still plenty of time to receive some news.
Yeah, it's I think it's interesting how I don't remember a day where so many schools released at the same time. So this is, I mean, I guess it's interesting in that imagine you're the candidate who gets, you heard it, you got a call, or, you heard from Kellogg, you're hearing from Wharton, you're getting in right and left to all these schools or something. That's got to be a kind of a strange experience too, because you're excited, they've been admitted, but then you're like, where do I go? So well, it looks like Anne's going to win the day here because she got on before Alex. So there we go. We had a bet. Anne's backstage, but I think she can hear me. And we had a little bet about whether you would show up before Alex Brown on our team, who's going to jump on any minute too. But
What do I
yeah,
win?
so Anne is here. Are you going to bring her out, Mike?
Yes, so we'll do our little introduction. We have Ann Kilby, Associate Dean of Admissions at Georgetown McDonough, and welcome, Ann. Let me pop you on to our little platform here, which always, this is the part as we're getting through this type of the day. There's these little hiccups, but we're gonna get you on here. This one I think is yours. Yes. No. Okay.
No, that wasn't
The
her.
wrong one.
I don't know who you know, but
The wrong people here. All right, so Ann, we'll get you in one more second here. This one.
So I'm excited to talk to Ann because, as we know, as we just reported earlier, Georgetown has gone to the phones. They've started making their calls, and we were kind of wondering, like, are we preventing you from calling people? I wonder if people are going to be angry at us because they're like, hey, get her back in the office so she can just call more of us accepted, candidates. But hopefully, we have a whole team of folks that are making phone calls.
Fortunately, it's all hands. And first of all, I want to know what I won if I beat Alex. You had a bet going.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll buy you a drink next time I see you. There you go. I love that you're wearing the branded gear too. That's perfect for an acceptance day. Yeah.
Yeah, we always do. We go all out.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, how does it work on your team? Because it seems like every office does this a little differently. Like, I was just kind of wondering, when you're calling someone, have you had any interaction with that person over the course of the process, or is it just sort of random as to who gets to call who, or how are you guys doing that? And is this like an all day affair where you're going to be making these calls?
Yeah. So for round one, which is the decision release today, we're releasing about 400 decisions for Georgetown's MBA program. That's full-time, part-time, online. The way we divide up the calls, it's by admissions advisor. So a person is getting ready to meet their admissions advisor. They're going to get an introduction today to that person. And so this is that first point of contact. Sometimes coincidentally, you've already connected with us, that person, but otherwise it's the start of a beautiful relationship.
So take me through that, because that sounds unique to me. So the person is there to kind of provide advice or answer questions over the course of the candidate's, process of making the decision where to attend?
Exactly. So they're the point of contact for admissions until we do a handoff to the program team, who will then be their advisor when they're a current student. So up until that point, that person's your POC. So they can help you better understand your scholarship package, better understand the terms, think about housing, connect you with current students of your preference. They're really there to offer you that personalized attention.
Okay, got it. Are you, tell me a little bit about how you feel when you get to do these calls, because it just must be so much fun to get on the phone with someone.
It really is. I have so much adrenaline on decision day. It's the culmination of so much effort on the candidate side, the journey that they've gone through, sometimes a year or two of having their eye on us, deliberating about Georgetown, coming to visit us, getting to know us, submitting, and then anxiously awaiting the interview, and then waiting then for decision day. So I recognize and appreciate all the effort on the candidate side. And then internally, we take our jobs very seriously. We know we're in a privileged position to offer an opportunity that is life-changing for candidates. And so it's such it's an honor, and I get so excited at to make that call, because you never know how it will be received. You hope you know how it will be received, but you never know. And I've gotten some funny reactions. So typically, since we're calling on a work day, we get some people who are whispering and saying, I'm in my cubicle, so I can't scream right now.
They're like heading under the desk to be able to talk to you because they haven't told anyone at work.
Exactly. Or they're very professional when they answer, and they hear it's Georgia, and they're like, wait, can you give me a moment? I'm going to shut my door. And then the tone totally changes, and then they're so excited with us. we always talk afterwards as an admissions team. We always share lunch together and share stories around our calls. And we're like, did anyone get a crier? And then we have a little competition of, for some reason, I usually get the most criers. I don't know. I feel fine sitting in silence. So maybe that's why I give people the space to like be emotional. Sometimes I
I
have
love
on
it.
occasion cried with people because again, I've gotten to know them through their application, and then it's full circle and they come to life, and it's a really special day.
There are
I
two
feel like
recurring
that's a
themes. Oh, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
I was gonna say what you're about to say probably is that I feel like the instance of the crier is like the common theme from every guest today so far, is that it seems like that's the thing that everyone looks forward to, is that type of that reaction, because it's just overwhelmed emotion, right? Like it's really funny.
Yeah.
And you've all described it slightly differently, but it's that same theme across the day, which I find so
We,
funny.
we need to get t-shirts that we could give to admissions officers that say, I got a crier, like
Yeah.
that's like a milestone. But the other thing that comes up that you just mentioned, Dan, is this transformational nature of the degree. We were talking earlier with Tony Gomez from Tepper, and he was talking about how for him, part of the emotion in talking to someone is just, you realize that what you're offering them could be truly transformational for not just them, but maybe for their family, for their kids, all the kind of opportunities that they're going to have. He talked about how it's a trajectory shifter, to go to business school. And so, yeah, I can understand why it just feels like such a great moment to have with someone on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, the people that you're talking to, we've all drank the Kool-Aid. We believe in higher education, the power of higher education. I am sincere when I say I know higher education can change someone's quality of life, not just their career, but them personally and their development and their awareness and growth and perspective and the network that they gain for life. I mean, there's nothing like the power of education.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got to ask you while you're here, because I know you're gonna have to run back and get back on the phones probably, but just tell us a little bit about McDonough and Georgetown. And, I mean, for people who are getting good news today, what's the pitch? I mean, why is it such a special place? Obviously, it's in a great city. I mean, Washington, D.C., enough said probably, but yeah, take us through what some of the real attributes are.
Sure, absolutely. Well, the batch of admits that we're releasing today, I'm really excited to share that about 45 countries are represented in that batch, which is
Wow.
the norm at Georgetown. I think folks should look forward to getting a global education at Georgetown, not just from our curriculum standpoint. You do have a required international consulting experience, the global business experience, so you get guaranteed international consulting with us. But your peer group, can you imagine what it feels like and sounds like to be in a classroom of people that represent 40 plus countries? You can only imagine the richness of that discussion and someone who's able to articulate what it's actually like to be on the ground in a certain country, in a certain industry, rather than just through the lens of a case study. So I
Yeah.
really think there's so much value in the diversity that we bring to our community and how that contributes to the experience. And then the other aspect I'd share that's unique for Georgetown, I mean, the obvious is DC. We're in the nation's capital, and while that's fun and cool to experience living here, it also is really beneficial for our students because we have the highest number of Fortune 500 companies per capita in DC. A lot of people think it's New York, but it's DC. We have the IMF, the World Bank, the federal government, everything that supports or works with the federal government. So a ton of federal contractors, the big firms are all here. It's also become quite a tech hub. We've got a lot of HQs here in DC. Amazon continues to be our #1 employer and recruiter of our MBAs at Georgetown. And then lastly, I would say what's special about us at Georgetown, and this is what keeps me motivated daily and what makes me so proud to work for the university, is our values-based system. We're the oldest Jesuit institution in the United States. What that means is we were founded with values, and those values have been instilled in us. We've fostered them over time. They are part of who we are. And we filter on it in admissions. We make sure that it's a good fit for candidates, that they also feel like they can thrive in our environment. And our value is service for others. So people who are truly wanting to make a positive impact in the world, and specifically for the MBA program, using business as the tool to do so. They are the people who will do well with us, and they're the people who will care for one another through their experience and for life.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I knew you were going to hit on that because that's something that I've talked to you about a lot in the past, and it's obviously something that resonates. I did. So we got some questions in the chat, and these are like logistical questions, but I think they're important. And obviously, you can just say you don't want to answer them if you don't want to. But one of the questions was like, how long do you guys like? How late will you be calling people? Does like how long should somebody probably stay up if they're maybe further east and into a different time zone? And also a related question was like, how do you decide what order? You know, candidates are always out there with these theories like, oh, what's the first letter of your last name? If you didn't get a call, then that means they passed, you know. So tell us just a little bit about the logistics, because people in the absence of information come up with all kinds of really fun theories. So yeah, I'd be curious to hear.
It's right. I love glancing on different chat boards, message boards on decision day, just to see people's theories and hypotheses. It's entertaining. I don't mean to have fun about it, but you never know sometimes they get it right. But so our process at McDonough, again, we divide up the calls by admissions advisor, and then you move through the calls. We try to call people first who are at a time zone that is just about to get too late for us to call. So we're going to call people in the Far East, starting with, and work our way west. But then our plan is to release decisions around 2 p.m. Eastern time today. And so our goal is always to make all of our calls before release. We would rather you hear from us first on the congratulations, and then you get it by paper. Sometimes the line is busy. Sometimes we leave a voicemail. And so it's not always that we're able to connect, but we really try our best. Our policy is call twice. So if it is busy, we will try again. If not, call us back so that we can connect with you, because sincerely, we just want to congratulate you. We don't go through a lot of logistics on the phone. Most of you are too much in shock and you can't absorb it anyway, but just let us celebrate with you.
Okay. And what's the area code for DC? 202 or something? I can't remember. I'm just trying to remember because people are always like, oh, what, you know, if I get a call from a number I don't know. Yeah.
It's 202. And it's funny, I saw one of the call notes from my colleague this morning. She said, as soon as they saw she said it gave away the DC number. They picked up and they were like, hello? Like they could feel that there was already a known element.
Got it. Anything coming up for people who've gotten in terms of like, will there be a welcome weekend or event, and when is that?
Yes, thank you for asking. So our welcome weekend for round 1 admits, and also for our early action admits, they are welcome to join as well, is January 23rd weekend. And so that is going to be one day. Friday is going to be virtual. Saturday is going to be in person, so that we make sure we can capture our full global audience and be accessible. And I will go ahead and give you all an early insight. We are going to plan a special event Thursday night for people who are coming in to campus. We're going to get block tickets for a Georgetown basketball game.
Oh, wow. That sounds like fun.
So that should be
excellent.
Fun. Yeah.
Oh, wow. All right. So lots to look forward to if you've gotten admitted to McDonough in the first round or early action, it sounds like. And we'll let you get back to the calls and to supporting your team. But Anne, I'm so grateful that you made time. I said to Mike when I saw you on the list, I was like, I can't believe she's going to do this because she's got to be super busy, but appreciate you making a few minutes.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. I think this is such a fun idea. I'm so happy to be part of it. Thank you all for bringing even more life to Decision Day. And really,
we're having fun.
The best of luck to everybody.
All right. Well, we'll let you go. And thanks again, Anne. We'll talk to you really soon.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, Mike, I think Alex is here, right? You have him backstage.
Yes. We're going to bring him on right now. I should mention also, we did have a Georgetown result posted to Livewire at 11:08 a.m. So while Anne was on, a colleague had made a phone call and got them on. Also, thank you for the person in our stream who's been asking for Anne. So hopefully you heard some great information from Anne as you're waiting your decision. We're going to hope for some good news from you as we wait. It sounds like 2 p.m. Again, win, loss, or draw, you're going to hear something by around 2 p.m. on that portal update. So hopefully it will be a phone call first. But if not, 2 p.m., there's your deadline. So now you know what to look forward to. Next up, we'll bring on Alex Brown. Alex, if you want to just say hello. We've been waiting for your arrival. We've mentioned a couple different times that you'll be joining us. In a moment or so, we're also going to have Emily from Kellogg. But Alex, how are you doing today?
Very good. Thank you. And thank you for having me. Hopefully Sounds like you guys are having a lot of fun. I've been listening away, so that's very good. Yeah.
And you were also you had a really good excuse. You were teaching a class right earlier today, so you couldn't jump on right away. Because
Yeah,
Alex
it was quite,
has a yeah.
yeah, it's quite odd. I was teaching a class, via webinar to a business school that's decided not to attend this live event, but we won't go into that detail. But yeah, and then got a nosebleed right at the end. I'm like, I don't really feel stressed. I'm not quite sure why that might be. So hence why I was a couple of minutes late getting onto the backstage. Anyway, I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good
That
to have
decision
you.
day
And yeah.
pressure, it happens to all of us.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's funny is so today Kellogg and Wharton, I don't know if you've
Yeah.
probably been following a little bit. Kellogg and Wharton at the exact same moment released, and then Anne and her team at Georgetown have been making phone calls. We've got Harvard coming up in about 45 minutes. So yeah, this has been exciting. I may and I think Emily is now backstage too, but I think Mike is going to bring her out. So Emily Hayden from Kellogg is going to join us. But Mike, I think you have like a special screen where you're going to introduce her, right?
Always
Yeah,
do.
there it is.
We have Emily Hayden, Assistant Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid at Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Management. And we just mentioned, right, so decisions went live earlier today. Emily, we're happy to talk to you about it. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. And thanks for the fancy background.
Yeah. So are you feeling a sigh of relief? Because you guys sent, as Mike said, what was it, 9 a.m. Your time out in Chicago, that you made all the decisions live, right?
We did. Decision release day is sort of like our Super Bowl. So it's a mix of like this, a sigh of relief and the adrenaline both. So yeah, it's the campus is abuzz today.
And how do you guys do it? So I know you release everything on the portal, but are there calls that go out like afterwards? Like, will people on your team be contacting, or do current students reach out to admitted candidates, or how does that part work?
Yeah, so we changed our process a few years ago because, admitting students all around the world, it takes some time, and we know it's a very anxiety-ridden time for our applicants. As it is for us, it's just as much, maybe if not more, for them. So we made the decision that we want to get everybody the decision as soon as possible and as early as possible. So that's why we do it all at once at 9 a.m. today is when they went out, Central, 9 a.m. Central.
Yeah.
So they will be absolutely contacted, emailed with an opportunity to connect with current students and alumni in the coming days. Yep.
And do you do I know you must do a some sort of like admitted students weekend or day, and if so, when is that usually happening so that so people can start to plan?
Yeah, so we have our admitted student weekend in February. You're catching me off guard, but I
Oh,
certainly
sorry.
I certainly have it here. We have so many dates and so many things going on. So February 6th and 7th will be our
Okay.
what we call DAC, which is Day at Kellogg for our admitted students. And all of the information is on their portal that they get invited to with their unique Kellogg credentials, so they can get in and see the checklist and invitations to the webinars. So we have webinars for all admitted students, and then we have specific ones for international students that have different type of questions on the next steps in their process.
And I guess one thing I'm kind of wondering about, so you make these announcements on the portal, but there must be some candidates that you have maybe met along the way throughout the course of the recruiting cycle, who reach out to you to say, oh my God, I got it. I'm so excited. Like, has there been any kind of, you must love those, like, sort of the personal touch, or anyone on your team who has that kind of connection to a candidate and hears from them?
Of course, the emails we start getting pinged as soon as decisions go out. We start getting pinged in our email with students and say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Or I love when they say, like, I called my mom. She was the first one I told, being a mom. They say I cried, I screamed, I was at work, and my colleagues are like, is everything okay? Because, they screamed when they got their decision. Yes, it is. This is my favorite, is to hear how people react.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Tell me just a little bit. I know that, a lot of the folks joining us today know a lot about Kellogg, but I just want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about, like, what's something that's great about Kellogg that anyone who got in today should be just super excited for were they to matriculate?
So one of the first experiences that our students have is something that it's a tradition at Kellogg. It's called Quest, which
Oh yeah.
of course starts with a K, KWEST. And it's one of our most beloved traditions, and it sets the tone for their MBA experience. So this happens before classes even begin. Students embark on global immersion trips with small groups of their classmates led by other students to destinations around the world. Most of the trips are international, but we also have some domestic trips for those who may not feel comfortable leaving the United States at this moment. And so it's not at all about academics. It's about building deep, authentic connections and creating shared experiences that really, what we hear is they last a lifetime. And I think Quest is one of those traditions that people talk about forever, because it reflects our commitment to the community, collaboration, and these are friendships that our students form and keep for, a lifetime. And it's like really the foundation of their MBA journey.
It sounds like a lot of fun too. I mean, it's how large, like just ballpark, how large are these groups that go off to different parts of the world or in the US?
They're around 10, 12.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
that sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. A
Yes.
good size to like get to know people on a really, as you say, authentic level. Alex or Mike, do you have any questions for Emily as we're kind of, it's so rare that we've had so many great guests today. Emily, you've been preceded by a stream of others from other schools, and it's just been a lot of fun to hear. Everyone has the same kind of adrenaline vibe about, these are big, big days.
We have, I do want to plug too, we have an exciting suite of AI courses that we're launching this year too, as part of our core.
Oh,
And
wow.
we've had really positive feedback from our students.
Can you give us an example?
So the courses, they dive into practical applications of AI in strategy, marketing, operations. And we know these are skills that recruiters they're in high demand right now. And so we know recruiters, we've gotten the feedback that they're looking for expertise in these areas. And so some of these courses that we've piloted over the last year have received some of the highest ratings from our students. So I think it's just really a great example of continued commitment to innovation and ensuring our graduates are ready to shape the future of business.
So are
Yeah, and
these
we did
in the core curriculum or as electives?
They'll be in the core and also electives.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and we did a piece not too long ago about how programs are incorporating AI, and there was a whole section on Kellogg and everything that you guys have been doing, including. Now I probably need to go back and check my notes, but there's a you have a flavor of the MBA that's the MBA I think is what it's called. Am I correct? Yeah, and that's all about kind of the intersection of technology and business, and so you guys have been, I would argue, very forward thinking in this domain, which makes sense, but it's impressive.
Yeah, and that's for those who have a foundation, a little bit of a foundation, but of course we all need to be ready to embrace AI moving forward, or we risk being left behind, right? And it's going to shape the future of business.
These courses that you've rolled out into the core that are AI infused and helping candidates build the skills that they need is reminding me. I was talking with the dean at a top business school recently and she was saying how the professor teaching one of these core classes that was an AI class refused to give her the syllabus until 2 weeks before the first class. And the reason was everything's changing so quickly. They needed up to the last minute to really make sure they knew exactly what they were going to incorporate. So yeah, it's just an amazing time and business schools are so great, I find, at typically being early adapters of, you don't see like law schools totally revamping their curriculum every year. Business schools are much more nimble, I think. So
I think we have to be
Kellogg being one of them.
Stay competitive.
Yeah,
and
I
also
agree.
our faculty, they love it. And for them also to be nimble and diving into research in new areas, it keeps them on their toes and they love it too.
Yeah. So do you get a little bit of a break now? Or I know you oversee a whole bunch of programs, so there's like you never get a break. But I mean, you feel some sense of relief now that you have the round one and full-time MBA decisions out the door. Maybe you get a little time off at the holidays, I hope.
We do. We take we have a week and a half, I think, that the university shuts
Good.
down. So we do get a bit of a breather over the holidays. Yes.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you making time to do this, Emily. I know it's a super busy day, and your team, as everyone's probably really excited to get these decisions out. But it's so great to connect with you, and thanks for answering all of our questions and giving people some real insight into the process.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, we'll see you soon. Thanks so much. Yeah, appreciate
Bye.
it. Take care.
Awesome. So thanks again to Emily for joining us. Another great guest. This has been, a lot of awesome folks who have come through to hang out with us. So I appreciate all of that. And just wanted to give a quick update over on Livewire to make sure we're paying attention to what's going on. And as of 5 minutes ago, we still have, some Wharton updates still trickling in, some Kellogg as well mixed in, as we just had Emily on the phone. So some folks that might be busy. It's a work day, as we've mentioned, right? That don't come right away and post, but they will post. And someone that got into the MBA program, which I think you had just mentioned at the end there, who is a combat veteran as well. So very cool stuff. Top choice. Congratulations to that person who received an admit to the MBA.
Yeah, very cool stuff. And I think when Emily was talking about you need a foundation, I think you have to have some background in tech or engineering or something, right? I can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe that's the case to do that program.
Yeah. So we do have our next guest ready to roll, which we have.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're moving right along here. We're cruising through the time. We have Will Torres, Director of Outreach at Stanford GSB, who will be joining us in about 30 seconds or so here. So once we get him into this side of Zoom, as we're navigating this whole thing, we'll pop him up.
He's
on the
up
screen,
early.
But,
I mean, isn't it only like it's like 8:30 a.m. out there, right? I mean, yeah, I guess he's getting an early start.
Early start. And so, we can kind of see how things are going. I know that was one thing that Alex had mentioned. We were talking about the fact that Will would be able to join us for this time of the day. We were saying that's pretty early. If he's on at the early part of this session, it's going to be pretty early. But we got him at a better time here where it's a little later. So hopefully, waking up with us, having some coffee or tea or nothing, water maybe, to join us and get excited about the rest of the decisions from Stanford today.
Yeah, Alex, take us through. You've been watching Livewire the last couple of days. So Stanford have been just like calling people individually, and so we see these acceptances. But today they're going to do a big release, right?
Yeah, I mean that's their general process. So they'll start calling about 2 days before their official deadline release day, and obviously it's a process that Kellogg has abandoned. I think during COVID, they stated and switched to a process that more mirrors Harvard's approach. And so Harvard and Stanford have these two different approaches. Harvard will release all their decisions and then contact folks, whereas Stanford makes those great phone calls that people look forward to. But it's a 2-day period generally, I think, before they then release all decisions, which are admit, waitlist, and deny, not admit, obviously. So yeah, admissions officers only contact by phone those they admit, which I suppose
at least they're supposed to. Yeah. You have to tell your story later, I guess. But yeah, that's the idea, is that you call the people that have been accepted. Yeah. And I see Will is backstage. Mike's going to bring him out, but yeah, it's exciting to have so many great guests on this. This has been a fun ride. Mike and I have been on since 9:30 a.m. Eastern, so it's been a fun ride. Here's Will. Hey, Will.
Cruising. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? Good morning.
Doing well. Is it nice out there? It's got to be nicer than it is here in Europe. The weather's probably very nice in the Bay Area today.
It's pretty nice. We got sunrises are super peaceful. Also, it's finals week, so there's like this extra like quiet hum and anticipation for winter close and the break. And there's a bunch of study trips, so students are also gearing up for that to head all over the world. So it's a pretty exciting time at Stanford.
So are you guys done this week then? Is this the last week or is it next week?
Next week. So
Yeah. Okay.
students are going to be done, but staff are going to be here on the admission side and the financial aid side. We're going to be working hard. And while the rest of the university goes on a winter close, our financial aid team actually works across the entire time to make sure our admitted students have what they need to be able to make the
Oh, right.
decisions. Yeah, because we're need-based financial aid.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So how maybe actually would you just in case someone doesn't understand what that means, like take us through because there, a lot of business schools are more they'll do like merit-based financial aid. You guys are need-based along with HBS. I think those are the only two that are purely need-based, right? So, but just tell us a little bit about what that means and also when someone does get in, do they find out immediately or is it there's a process to find out how much financial aid they're going to be awarded?
Yeah, so the philosophy is that the folks who need the most support should be getting the most support so that Stanford can be realistic opportunity for them. We take account into things like prior year income, currency valuation, because we know that what a living wage in one part of the world does not necessarily always translate over. And so after you're admitted, after we send out the admission decisions, you'll be able to log into your admit portal and there'll be a ton of information there. You're also paired with an admission officer buddy, so I'm going to get to support a number of our students through this process. Because while you might have been well prepared for the stress of the application, once the decisions are out, it changes tenor of like, oh, now I have these great options, kind of what now? And so we're here to support you through that. And then you apply for financial aid. There's a process for that will support you through. And then you'll get your financial aid package before even admit weekend so that you have time to come and talk to us, our financial aid team, and have all the information you need before deciding whether or not Stanford is the right place for your next chapter.
So that's why the financial aid team's working over the over
Exactly,
the break.
exactly. Yeah.
So tell me if someone is fortunate enough to get into Stanford, when is this welcome weekend? When does that happen?
Yeah, Admit Weekend this year is going to, for round one, is going to be the weekend of Saturday, January 31st, bridging over to February 1st. So just over the course of that weekend. So it's going to
Okay.
be a lot of events leading up to that as well, both virtual as well as around the world. So again, once the Admit portal is available, you'll see all of the different opportunities to connect with community there. And I'm going to be connecting you with folks based on shared interest, places, people from our conversations, because I'll be checking in on you, seeing what you need, if there's any ways that I can support. So making sure this is a dialogue and a conversation so that you get, the full support possible.
So we've been doing this with everyone that's come on today, but I would love to just hear a little bit about what you think makes Stanford GSB special. Some people are going to be fortunate enough today to get into multiple top programs,
Yeah.
and so just understanding like what's the sort of the pitch. I mean, not it's obviously a top program, but what makes the place special?
The longer I've been here, it really just comes down to like, why should someone want to follow you? And everybody's going to have a different answer to that. The tools and the kind of styles and the ways you kind of maximize and leverage influence is also going to change if you are working in private equity in New York, or doing kind of investment banking in Brazil, or maybe you're doing a nonprofit in Spain, right? And so really understanding like, how do you show up in a space? Does the way that you show up in the world in your head match the way it's being received? Why or why not? And like, how do you maximize that? And then those are the skills you're going to be using throughout your career, uh, regardless of what industry, because the first job you get out of business school is definitely not going to be your last. Or for most of you, it's not going to be your
Right.
last. And so how can we kind of help support you through that? And I think that is such like an incredible gift, because even in workplaces or environments that are feedback kind of have a feedback culture, sometimes the types of feedback will land you in HR the next day. And so, but this is a place to help understand like, okay, it's still important. How might you phrase that? Or how do you understand that? Or how then might you translate that into different systems and language and conversations that is appropriate in other spaces, right? And so like it's this constant toolkit on top of like these kind of core skills about like business fundamentals, finance, accounting, kind of this new dimension of how do we think about technology as empowering business decisions, AI, right? So all of these developments and what's peeking around the corner, you're still at the center of that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I want to, so Alex Brown is here, who I host the weekly Clear Admit podcast with. And we actually had Aaron on some time ago, the director of admissions over at Stanford. But Alex is a big believer in your first essay, the what matters most to you and why. And it's something that Alex, would you just say a couple words about that? Because I think, you've actually, haven't you told people that even if they're not thinking about Stanford, it's a brilliant question, right? And why is that?
Yeah, no, it's good to talk to you, Will. I will say I nearly interviewed for the director job at Stanford lots of years ago.
When you were at
Um,
Wharton. Yeah.
yeah, when I was at Wharton, Marie Mukini, who was running admissions at Stanford, invited me over to interview and stuff. But anyway, that's another long story. But yeah, I'm a huge believer in this main essay that you have. Hope you never change it. I assume that's never going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think
And
so.
I think
Not anytime soon, at least.
no, I think it just gets to the root of why folks should be doing what they're doing going forward, what means the most to you and why, and being able to articulate that
Mm.
in an authentic fashion, rather than trying to figure out, well, what does Stanford want to learn about me? It's just like answer the question. But it takes such a deep level of real in introspection and exploration. It's not a question that you can answer in one sitting. It's the sort of question I think you take a notepad around with you for a month or two and just start jotting down notes before you really start articulating the question. But yeah, even folks that aren't applying to Stanford, my recommendation would be answer that Stanford first question. And then when you've done that, go apply to Stanford anyway, because it is literally, for many folks, the best program on the planet, right?
Will, I know you guys have a lot going on because I believe, there's still decisions going out. And then at the end of the, what time is the final update today? Is it
We'll
a
be
specific
sending it
time?
out today. No specific time, but folks will get
Okay.
notified via email once their portal is updated.
Okay. And any advice for folks who, we've been talking to a number of admissions officers over the course of this morning. And one of the things I've been asking is if someone doesn't get good news, any advice to someone, whether that's, maybe they were waitlisted or rejected, but any advice you have to someone who's kind of needing to maybe regroup a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know that there's anything necessarily different or you don't need to do a quote unquote postmortem. Nothing was necessarily wrong, but just take a moment, be able to like invest in yourself for a little bit, however that means. And then as you engage in the application process, if you're reapplying, just kind of start from a blank slate, give yourself the chance to honor, acknowledge whatever learnings, growth might have happened in that time. And for those of you on wait list, we'll be in communication about like when to keep us updated, things that we might be encouraging you to share with us. Just let us know even if you're still interested or not. But we're doing our best to make sure that you have as much insight into the process as possible. There's nothing additional you need to do. You don't need to visit campus unless it's for you and your own learning. We're not tracking what one of the panelists earlier mentioned as demonstrated interest. But if you want to continue engaging, we're here for you.
Okay. Yeah.
Just on
Good
that
advice.
note, Will, I sorry to interrupt. I did see a post on Livewire, someone that you admitted. You'd had them on the wait list last season, admitted them first round this season. And of course, I don't know if they said it's the best day of their life. If so, I'm not
They
sure
said
they're
something.
married yet
Yeah.
or something like that. They don't have any. But the point is, the long, arduous process yields that positive. They are absolutely thrilled. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And Will, I presume you would agree that one of the things that's nice about business school is that just because you were rejected in the first year, like you were saying earlier, doesn't mean you can't do the work, think about what you've learned, and come back and apply again and make the cut. I'm speaking from experience myself. In that bucket, I was rejected everywhere. My first year, I applied to business school, so it really is. That's one thing I love about business school is that there seems to be on the part of the admissions teams a real openness to kind of that blank slate. Like someone can come back, they can be, better than they were before, et cetera, and find that positive result.
Yeah, and yeah, there's people in the class right now, third, fourth time reapplying, and they are thriving, and I'm so happy that they're here. And I want to say thank you, Mike, Graham, Alex, for letting us join this event. This is the closest I'll ever get to Sports Center. So for those of you on who like watch a lot of sports, it's a commentary show. Stanford Hot Take: change lives, change organizations, change the world. Thanks, y'all.
There you go. All right.
I love
Appreciate it,
it.
Will. So glad to have you be a part of this.
That's fantastic. No, I love the sign off as well. That's we did not have a sign off yet, so we can say officially first sign off of the day.
I will say I was at an event in Europe about business school, because that's kind of the only events that I go to, I guess. And the speaker said, who knows what this comes from? And it's a bunch of European business schools in the room. They said, change lives. What is it? Change lives, change organizations, change the world, or something to that effect, right? And that what Will just said. And I recognized it, but no one in the room knew. And I raised my hand and I was like, oh, this is one that I know. It's Stanford's line. And I was kind of surprised that none of the other business schools in the room knew, but they were all, European business schools, but it was just kind of an interesting exercise. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun, and I think we have a couple more guests, Mike, right in the green room
so
right
just
now.
A quick check in on Livewire again. So most recent updates as of 2 minutes ago, all three different statuses in a row, and we've talked about this all day: a wait list from Wharton, an accept from Wharton, and a reject from Wharton, all back to back to back here. So we're seeing all different outcomes. And as Will mentioned, and Alex, I think that was a great way to bring that comment in. Just because you get not the most positive result today, right? Not that green checkbox you're in, it does not mean your journey ends today. It just means you're taking a different pathway, right? And it could be a seat in a future class. It could be a seat next round if in the case of a waitlisted candidate. And Will mentioned there's somebody who is multiple years applying to their program and is still got into the program and is doing well in their program. So again, just keep at it, keep putting your best foot forward. Today is not the end of anybody's journey. It's just kind of, deciding which direction you're going in moving forward. But with that, we can bring in our next guests who are patiently waiting to join us. And we have two folks from one of our partners, Juno. And for those of you who are unaware of what Juno is, we're about to learn a lot about them, but we like to qualify them as our financial aid and personal finance partner. And I hope that they're okay with me putting them in that category. But we'll have Diego and Andrew from their team who are going to join us right now to talk about Juno. So here we are. Welcome.
Yeah, this is now that you're in, hopefully, how do you pay to go to business school, right? Yeah. Exactly. And I tried earlier, guys. I tried earlier to kind of explain what you all do. And I think I did an okay job, but I'd love to hear it from one of you. So I don't know, Diego or Andrew, whoever wants to kind of explain, because I think it's a really cool concept.
Yeah, happy to. And thank you so much for having us today. Excited to be here. I guess, Juno, let me start by saying that Juno is not a lender. I think that's a first misconception that people have. What we do is we try to negotiate with lenders lower rates on behalf of students. We do that every year. We've been doing that for the last 8 years, and we've been able to help thousands of MBA students fund their degrees via student loans, right? So essentially what we try to do is we put together a group of students every year, and we try to grow that group as big as possible. And comes May, we run negotiations with lenders, and we ask them who's willing to give our group of students the biggest discount on their interest rates. These are private student loans, obviously. And whoever says, I'm willing to give your group of students the biggest discount, we just tell our group of students to go out and take their loans with that specific lender. Important distinction here is that joining Juno is free. And whenever someone joins our group, they're not committing themselves on taking out a loan later on. So it's just like a free option.
Yeah, I always think about how, if I were the kind of lender, this is a really amazing opportunity, because you're coming to them with oh, here are thousands of people who need to borrow money instead of just one. It's super efficient for them, and it's great for the candidates because the rates come down. And I think it's also nice that you're gathering together. It's almost like I feel like there's some camaraderie, and you're building this group of people who've all been accepted to top programs. And yeah, again, a real win for the lenders too, because they're lending to people who are likely to go on to be quite successful and very capable of paying back, the money they've borrowed. So, what would you say though to folks who are getting good news today, aside from join Juno, it's free, no commitment to taking the loan? What would you say, just in terms of getting ready for business school?
Yeah.
what are the things they need to be thinking about? Because I know sometimes people don't give a lot of thought to that. They know it's going to cost money, but they're very focused on getting in. And then once they get in, the tables are turned and they're like, okay, now I've got to figure out how to actually finance it.
So yeah, that's very true, and I'll let Andrew comment on this as well. But I think the main message here is, one, work on your grade score, right? Make sure you get it up as high as possible before you apply to any loan, because that's going to increase your chances of getting a better interest rate. Maximize the scholarships, right? Free money is the best money, obviously. And then I would say just try to build a simple but accurate budget. Talk to whatever school you end up going to, try to talk to alumni or current students, try to get a feel of how their expenses look like. Probably you can relate yourself. I don't know, I'm from Mexico, right? So I was calling Mexicans at booth when I was before heading into booth to kind of get a sense of what exactly they were doing. So try to find someone that you can relate, so that you can kind of get a better sense of how that budget is going to look like for you down the line. Andrew, anything you want to add here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about decision day again back in my day, which was many years ago now. But no, I think, advice is enjoy the day, enjoy the moment first off, right? This is just an exhilarating time. Take that and celebrate. But yeah, like Diego's mentioning, yeah, and what you guys said, now you got to figure out how we're going to pay for this. And talk to as many people as you can, be that resource. Again, the beautiful thing with Juno is we offer ourselves, for one-for-one, consultations. So feel free to reach out to us as well. We have a bunch of tools like budget calculators, help you understand what your position is and what might be best for you, right? Not every student is going to be the same. Not everyone's coming from that same sort of background and situation. So how can we help you understand what your options are and ideally be the best option for you? And so, I was actually a Juno member back when I did it. I was part of the first class of Juno members when it was just an idea of, hey, this is a lot of money. Let's get a bunch of people together and see if we can get a better rate. And it worked, and it continues to work. And that's why we're here, many years later and continuing to offer this value to MBA students and beyond.
So you mentioning the goosebumps, I want to go, I want to do a little bit of a deep dive here. So in like 8 minutes or 7 minutes, Harvard's going to release their, round one decisions. It's been a whirlwind morning. We've had Kellogg, Wharton, all these schools releasing decisions, Georgetown on the phone, Darden, Tuck. But I want each of you, I know, Diego, you went to Chicago Booth. Andrew, you went to UCLA Anderson. What do you remember about decision day? Let's start with you, Diego. Do you remember where you were? Did you get a call? Was it just like dialing into the portal? Like, how did you find out and what were you doing?
Oh, I remember vividly. I was one of those cases where I was in the meeting and I ignored a couple of calls with an area code of Chicago. And I remember Donna, our head of admissions, she called for a third time, and I gladly picked up the phone on the third time, and I was just excited. I came out of the meeting, called my now wife, and I was so happy. And then I'm gonna tie it back to, I guess, finances. I literally a few hours after that call, I was starting to think to myself, all right, this is a real thing. What I'm gonna do in terms of how I'm gonna pay for it, right? That's when the journey started for me.
So were you did people at work know that? Did you have to like step out of the meeting because did people not know that you had applied?
We were with clients, so the client didn't know, but my manager did know. So I just kind of gave him like sorry, I need to take this. So I just went out of the meeting room and took the call. So
Got it.
So yeah, I mean, it all worked out. But yeah, only a few people in the room knew.
Andrew, how about you? Do you remember where you were?
I do. I was driving. Actually, I think I was leaving work, and I was driving home, and somebody just said I got a voicemail. I didn't even get the call come in. A voicemail came in, and I go, "What's this?" Right? And so I listened to the voicemail, and it was from the admissions office. They didn't tell me I got in. They just kind of, "Oh, we're calling you." And I was like, so I already got that jolt of like, oh, this is good news, right? I think there's something there. And so I tried calling them back, and they're not answering. And so I'm like, oh, wait, is this good news? And so you have that question. Then finally, hours later, I'm sure they were going through, the list of students. We reconnected, and then I got, the full picture, and it was great. But I had those moments where I'm like, they wouldn't call me to say no, I guess, right? So
Yeah.
again, also paying attention, to Livewire, and I was, a big fan in those days. The
Oh,
calls
cool.
are good, right? So if I got a
Yeah.
voicemail, I felt, it was almost enough to start celebrating.
Yeah. Alex, I want to ask you, because, Alex for many years called people while working at Wharton to tell them that they were accepted. Anything you want to share, like an anecdote, Alex, about that? Because I think it's, you had a lot of fun talking to people on the phone and some adventures too.
Yeah, it's obviously a bit of a loaded question, but yeah, probably as an admissions officer, your favorite time of the season is making admit calls. So kudos to Kellogg for deciding not to do that anymore, because I do agree with them. It's probably better. It's a great experience for you, but it's very anxiety provoking for folks waiting for calls over a long period of time. But that said, yeah, most admissions calls go really well. People are super happy, grateful, etc., etc. But there was one occasion, and I'm actually going to leave this webinar in a minute, so I can divulge this one occasion. Nobody can ask me questions about it. I called this candidate up in Peru. And I vividly remember I called them up and I said, "Oh, this is Alex Brown at the Wharton School." And usually when you say your name, they might recognize it, but when they say the school, they know why you're calling, right? So there's an immediate uplift in the energy on the phone, unless they're in a meeting with a customer that doesn't know they're applying. I get that, but there's an immediate uptake of energy. But this person was pretty nonplussed by my announcement. They were like, "Yes, and why are you calling?" Not literally like that, but in translation, it was sort of interpreted like that. And it was like, "Well, I just wanted to let you know that we've admitted you." And they were like, "Oh, I had the rejection letter printed out and stuck to my fridge." So yeah, in the old days, maybe we weren't quite as
Oh
precise
no.
in our data entry or whatever it might be, right? And maybe this now makes a lot of folks a little bit nervous when someone says you're admitted on the phone. Well, am I really admitted? Maybe I need to wait till I see the portal update correct, et cetera, et cetera. But I can assure you, if you're getting a phone call, the person making the phone call has your file right in front of them with admit stamped all over it. So that is absolutely the right decision. It turned out that person did not come to Wharton.
I
So
can't
I wasn't
imagine
able
why.
to follow up with them directly. I'm not sure exactly where they went. And I will say it was about 15 or 18 years ago. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's a long
sure
time.
their office is a bit smarter about what they're doing than when I was there. But yeah, it was a blip in my usual really good experience calling up admitted candidates, some of whom have remained friends to this day based off of
Yeah.
that call. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a real connection. And we've heard from a number of
Yeah.
admissions officers all through the morning, and those who make calls really, they love doing it and like
Yeah.
connecting with candidates. And yeah, anything, Diego or Andrew, anything that we should know about kind of just generally about loans and financial aid these days? Because it does feel like there've been, a lot of changes happening, and so anything you want us to be abreast of, or what really not us, but the folks who are hearing today that they've gotten in and are trying to figure out financing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'd like to emphasize the fact that next year is going to be unique in the sense that federal loan options are not going to look the same for incoming students. So now more than ever, it's important for incoming MBA students to maximize their chances of getting the lowest interest rate possible in the market. And I think Juno should be their best option on doing that. So yeah, my message would always be to shop around, make sure you're getting the lowest cost of funds possible. And obviously, Juno is here as a free resource for you to use us with any questions you might have. So yeah, that'll be the main message I would like folks to get from these 15 minutes with us. Andrew?
No, I mean, yeah, 2026 is a whole new ballgame. And I think, make sure to start early enough to ask the questions and get familiar with, what's going on, what the changes are, and what that means for you. And that's hopefully where we can be of help to all you guys out there looking to figure out how we're gonna, pay for that fall enrollment. So.
And Diego and Andrew, I did drop a link in chat for folks who do feel like signing up to get some information. But what else would you share? Like, what is that process for folks? Like, they sign up, would they expect to hear a ton from you, or what's kind of that timeline if they are planning for a fall start?
That is a great question. The sign up process per se is less than a 2-minute process where people are just giving us their name, email, school they're planning to attend, when they're graduating, and a few other questions. And then we'll keep everyone updated on how the group is growing between now and May. And then we'll keep everyone updated in May with our negotiations with lenders. And then in summertime, usually around first week of June, last week of May, is when we release the deal to everyone who joined the group. So yeah, that's from a timeline perspective, that's what folks should be expecting.
Okay. And hopefully there are about to be a whole ton of them with a need for financing, because Harvard is releasing their decisions at this very moment, I believe. So we're kind of heading into the busiest moment here of the day, because Harvard has a very large class. So they're probably getting out a lot of decisions. Diego and Andrew, really appreciate you guys making time to talk about what you guys do at Juno. Again, the moment I heard about what you all do from the founders, Nikhil and Chris, I just remember thinking, wow, what a great idea. And so typical for a couple of MBA grads to come up with such a great idea and then, go on to do such big things. So it's a lot of fun. And yeah, we're big fans. And, as you said, it's like it's a no-brainer. Like, sign up, join Juno. You don't have to pay, and you don't have to guarantee you're going to take out a loan or anything. It's just to find out what is the rate that they're able to get, and it's always a really low rate. So it cannot hurt. So definitely join Juno.
Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Thank you for having us.
All right, we'll
Big
talk to you
thanks
guys soon.
as well.
Awesome.
Thanks. All right, talk to you soon,
guys. Cool.
So Mike, we're coming up to the moment of truth here with HBS. And the end of I can't believe we've been on this live stream for so long. I probably need to stretch my legs at some point, but we're down to the final moment here.
To the whistle.
Yeah.
And I think,
Yeah.
and you mentioned it, I think maybe to me in a little bit of our prep right before we went live officially, but kind of that nice transition of speaking with Juno in that 15 minutes right before Harvard releases. And you mentioned the founders, Chris and Nikhil, who are both HBS grads. That's where
that's right.
they
Yeah,
met and
they
got
both
together.
went to
So pretty interesting to kind of transition that, if you want to sign up and learn about your options for loans and hear more from Juno, you might be doing that at the school possibly that they went to just a few years back. So
Yeah.
we expect that portal update to be happening imminently. So check those portals. Don't leave us, but check the portals and then come back to Livewire and post those results. Again, win, loss, or draw, because there's plenty of outcomes that you could have. I am still keeping my eye on Livewire, and I'll bring that up for you as well, Graham, so we can look at it together. But
I think it's, the chances are they're going out now. And then there's a bit of a lag before anyone shares on Livewire. But it's been, look, Tuck is still making those calls. They just made one a minute ago, it looks like. Yeah, this person, actually they heard about 11 a.m. Eastern and they're in Italy. Very cool. So, one thing that was really interesting as we wait for those HBS decisions to start posting, one thing that was kind of interesting was, I thought Anne gave a really good answer, Anne from Georgetown, about how they go about calling. She's like, look, we're going to start in the Far East because we're in the East Coast of the United States. So we're going to call the people who are going to bed so that we can get them before they go to bed. And then we'll make our way west. And so it's not, it's not alphabetical. It's not some weird, it's a pretty rational process. But she also made it a point to say that each person gets their batch of people that they're going to call. But that, people take a lunch break or they have something else to do. They have a meeting. So it's not an exact, kind of science. And yeah, so you just kind of hang in there. And they said, didn't she say by 2:00 or so, they hope to have made all their calls 2:00 Eastern today,
that's
2
what
p.m.
you mentioned. Yeah. And again, as we said earlier today, I mean, you can expect that those calls will go on schedule, but if they don't, right, sometimes the portal release is already set to happen. So you may still receive a call after you see that you've been admitted. There's a whole bunch of things that can happen with those types of things. So hang in there, still get to celebrate those situations. But yeah, it's good to always be aware of that. I think the other common theme we heard today is just the excitement that all of our guests have about a day like today. Just how they're able to connect with those people they've worked with over the past, I mean, it could be years, right? But at least the past few months on getting them into those programs. And I think that crying thing, right? And again, like we're going to talk about crying like it's a bad thing. I think it's a great reaction to have, is that you're just so overwhelmed and so happy. Yeah, just that you don't know what to do. It's like you just that's the reaction, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm kind of ready to cry for, we've just had so many great guests today, and this was a real fun thing to do. I know, Mike, I said it when we first started, but this was your idea, and this is something that, I was talking to a former colleague of ours who used to work at Clear Admit full time, and she was saying, when I mentioned we were doing this, she was saying, oh, Mike's finally got his dream come true to kind of do a live stream. So in any event, no, it's been a lot of fun today, and great lineup of guests. I mean, I don't know if everyone's been here the entire time, but we talked to Kellogg, we talked to folks from Georgetown, we talked to Will over at Stanford, Jan at Johns Hopkins, Tony at Tepper. So it's been, and obviously Diego and Andrew just now from Juno. And I'm probably forgetting, Rachel from Emory as well. So we talked to a lot of folks, and as you predicted, all these schools that you're putting check marks on have been issuing decisions today. So you got 100%, because, the ones that you said might begin, well, we've got Dartmouth ticking that box there, but all the ones that we knew were supposed to happen have been happening. So what a busy day, though. It's just crazy.
And we're pretty on,
and it's only, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, we're pretty on point with the timing as well. Again, Morton's reason for the range, for those joining us later in the day, the timing moved slightly kind of within that 10 a.m. hour. This year they went back to that right at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Again, these are all Eastern times for all those main releases on the left. On the right, we're checking them off because they have started their decisions in some way, shape, or form. I haven't seen a lot of Stanford activity today, but as we heard from Will, they've been doing calls already for the past couple of days. Today might be more of that portal update. But as we've heard all day long, it doesn't necessarily mean you already know your answer until you see it in that portal, right? So if you do not receive a call, if you have not received a call yet from Stanford and you're waiting for that portal update, it's still, keep your fingers crossed. We'll see what happens for you as that portal gets updated. And Graham, as you mentioned, that bottom line, Tuck was one that did sneak a little bit earlier. A lot of these other ones, that bottom line, they typically start later this evening, and kind of follow that same type of thing that Ann was mentioning of they may call kind of the Far East first to catch them when they wake up. So that would be evening time Eastern today, or I guess mid-afternoon almost for like UCLA and the West Coast, but it'll be like later today to still catch the time frame that would be tomorrow's date. So you'll probably hear in your time zone on December 11th from those other schools, but some of those calls have started early, like in the case of Tuck.
Yeah, and I see we did get somebody posted an HBS post. We saw somebody's been waitlisted with a 337 on the GRE. Obviously, we know nothing else about their background, but pretty impressive number on that test score. There's an acceptance to HBS, so they're starting to flow in as expected. Again, it takes people some time. They get the news, they got to jump up and down, or
they have to cry,
or get upset if they didn't get in, and then they post a live wire. But again,
they call their mom sometimes.
Yeah, that's right.
Some of the cases we've heard.
Yeah, if you got in, I do recommend you can call your mom first, and then you can come over to Livewire and share the news. And just so everyone understands the reason for this, it's not just a brag platform. We want to see all results, but the thing that's nice about it is that it's really a way of paying it forward. Obviously, if you're a regular user of our site, you've been coming on to Livewire and sorting to see what happened to people last year. And all that data that's in there is super useful as you try to figure out, what kind of test score ranges or GPAs or career backgrounds or goals seem to be resonating with the admissions teams at these schools. And it's a really useful thing. So if you're going to share to Livewire, think of it as doing a little bit of community service to help democratize the admissions process and help just share, with others who have yet to apply. Maybe they're going to apply in round 2, and they're just curious to know like what's happening, how competitive is it this year, what kind of results are people getting. So this is a tool that we've had on the site. I can't even tell you how many years now, but it's a number of years. And I know I looked the other day, and I think there are I want to say 70,000. I mean, there are tens of thousands of Livewire entries that have been fielded over the years, and it's just a treasure trove of information for the applicant pool, right? So, and as I said earlier, there's a data dashboard on the site, so you can play with this stuff. And if you're a registered user on the site, which is free, you can sort, filter, etc., to just look at the schools that are of interest to you. So, yeah, so it looks like the decisions are flowing in now, Mike. I see you're refreshing Livewire.
Refreshing, scrolling down. So I have a couple Georgetowns.
Yeah, they're still making their calls.
Yeah, and now to be fair, we also have just sent out an email to our list to alert them that Georgetown is active. So some of this may be folks who did not post that may have heard earlier this morning that are now coming to post, triggered by that email. So just want to make that known. But Harvard, these are all the ones that are coming out from the 12 o'clock post. So we have somebody from Columbia, we have somebody from Singapore. There's also a Stanford now. Again, these are people user-generated submissions. So it's possible this is somebody who just assumes that's the result. I can't confirm if this is their portal going live.
Yeah, if the portal's updated. Yeah, I don't know.
But and as Will said, it may be later in the afternoon. But we just want to make note this is on the site. So we'll try to confirm that for everybody and update if we can. But another Harvard admit from Chicago. Somebody that might be going to Chicago out of New Orleans. Waitlist. So lots going on across the board. And again, if you want to utilize this tool, this is free on ClearAdmit. So come on over. It's ClearAdmit/Livewire. Check out this tool for yourself. There are plenty of ways to sort all these entries if you come up to the filters, and you can pick and choose what schools you want to look at specifically. Graham also mentioned the data dashboard, which you can look at, kind of just plots data over the years, right? So if you're looking at what all this stuff looks like visually instead of in a list, there's another option for you.
Yeah, we just got a great quote that I got to read. Someone left a comment over on YouTube. Somebody says, "I love the site. Encourage people to use it, but I warn against it in the week leading up to results, as people can't concentrate on their work and they spend too much time pressing F5, which is refresh." So, so that's a Livewire addict who is refreshing the site all the time to see the latest results coming in. I get that. We actually did an April Fool's story many years ago about how I think it was McKinsey and several other firms had come together to request a ban on Livewire to basically delist clearadmit.com from their office internet because people were using the site too much to check admissions results. So that was all in jest, of course. But in any event, I'm wondering if that Stanford portal update has come out, because now we're seeing a waitlist result. So I think maybe they have, that's probably what we're seeing here. And Will was a little cagey. He didn't say when it was going to happen, but it sounds like, what is it, 9 a.m. Eastern there. So they probably hit send on that at 9 a.m. out there on the West Coast.
Yeah, quite possible. And that is expected to come out today. The exact time does kind of move around, which Will did say, it kind of depends on when they're ready to put it out there. But that could be live. So if you are a Stanford applicant and you're still hanging out with us, go check your portal. Let us know, if you are getting a result, and if you have not received a result already, right? Because it'd be interesting to see kind of what that looks like for some folks. But so we're seeing it all. It's the kind of convergence as we expected. And one of the reasons we picked today to do this event is there'd be a lot of activity, a lot of different things to talk about, a lot of different things to look for. We scheduled this. We have about 10, 15 minutes left. Graham, any thoughts on kind of what people should be thinking about next from any of these three categories, right? Win, lose, or draw. What's your best recommendation on how people should proceed? Obviously, after the emotion comes out of it, right? Because you're going to have a reaction, which you should have. And maybe, honestly, some people may have a roller coaster day, right? You may have kind of some ups, some downs, some kind of levelness, because we're looking at, again, a dozen schools or so. So if you're applying to 4 or 5 schools, you could have all 3 results happening. So what do you think, what can people really be looking to do moving forward?
Yeah, I would stress something I said earlier today is just, don't let any one result, overweigh things. There's a bit of an art to this. It's not just a science. And sometimes you'll get into one school and not in another. And if you're just looking at rankings, you might say, oh, I was supposed to get into this one and not that one because one's ranked higher than the other, but it doesn't work that way. It really is a question of fit and a bunch of other factors. I would say, in essence, we know there are three outcomes, right? If you applied in round one and you're getting word today or in the last week, or you're going to find out in the next few days from schools like MIT or others that we had on the list there, you could get in, you could get waitlisted, or you could get rejected. And in each scenario, there are different things you need to be thinking about. Some would say, oh, I got in, I'm done. But that's not always the case. You may have gotten in, but maybe you didn't get the scholarship that you wanted. And so then you're going to say, gosh, maybe I need to apply to some additional programs in round two in order to achieve my scholarship goal. You could also try to negotiate with the schools in question that have admitted you to see if you can up the value. But in some cases, you might need to just apply to some additional programs and see if you can make the money happen. The other thing that we like to talk about a lot is if you ran the table, let's say you applied to like 4 schools and you got into all of them, you might say, I'm done. But if you didn't apply to schools that are maybe ranked above, or even, schools that you thought were sort of out of your reach, then you might say, gosh, if I didn't get a rejection, then I didn't try hard enough. Like I didn't, if I didn't max out, so then you might say, oh, hey, in round 2, I'm going to take a flyer on, this school that's ranked above the 4 that admitted me. And it doesn't have to just be a ranking, but it could be, a school that you think is great for you, but you just didn't feel that you had a shot based on the stats or something, right? So keep that in mind. So that's kind of your outcomes if you were, and obviously there is the outcome where if you got in, got a great scholarship, or you didn't need a scholarship, you could be done, right? You might say, this is my dream school. I'm signing up. I'm booking my flights for those welcome events, et cetera. But that's kind of all the positive news, right? Obviously, Mike, we also talked about wait lists. And if you're on a wait list, it's a little more complicated. You need to assess, figure out what you're going to do next, figure out why might you be on the wait list, and how can you address whatever it is. I think it was Tony earlier from Tepper who said, hey, you might need to retake a test or show us something to address a weakness in your profile. But I would argue that even if you are executing what we would call the wait list strategy to improve your candidacy, you should also be applying to schools in round 2. Because you can't guarantee that you're going to get in off the wait list, even if you address some of the weaknesses. There's no guarantee. So if you're on a wait list, you probably need to start thinking about, are there programs I could consider in round 2? Or you need to just decide, I'm all in on this wait list. If it doesn't work out, I'm not going to go to school this year, and I will reapply next year. And that's how you approach it. And I guess you could argue the same thing's true of people getting bad news today. You could either apply in round 2 to some different schools, or you could say, you know what, I got a lot of work to do. The reason I didn't get in is because, I had a low test score, or I don't have enough work experience, or I need to do some things. I need to build out my extracurricular profile. And then you might say, I need more time than just a few weeks here because the round 2 deadlines are right after the holidays, right? So that's my take. I mean, I think, you just need to kind of make those decisions, but hopefully most people joining us today get into at least one. And that's why you apply to multiple schools, right? Because you're hoping to hit, you only need one. You can only go to one school. I think you said that earlier today, Mike, right?
You only need one, right? And you can only choose one. That is a good point. And that's another thing we always like to say is, look, you're already doing something for yourself that a lot of other people are not doing. I mean, it seems like when you're in this world of applying to schools and you're on these forums and you're on sites like ours and on events like this one, you think, oh, wow, there's a lot of people applying. It's competitive. It's tough. It's this. I mean, we're talking a small percentage of the population here that actually goes through with this stuff, especially round by round, year by year. So you're already doing something for yourself. You're putting yourself out there. You're applying to school. You get into one. Is it your top choice? Is it somewhere on your list? I mean, there's a reason you ultimately applied to that school, right? So you had some reason. If you were to get in, you would maybe choose that school. So you're doing something. You're going to go get something that's going to benefit you in the end. And I think Anne was the one who mentioned it earlier, where, and I've heard this when I worked in admissions too. One of the, I guess it was a vice dean who I worked for, who said, one thing about education is it's a noble good, right? So when you're out here pitching our program and trying to get people to enroll and telling people to spend, it could be a lot of money to go back to school, it's only going to benefit you in the long run because you're going to receive an education, right? And so you could pick some cool electives, you're going to get a good core, you'll end up probably with a really good job at the end, but it can only benefit you. So take that one leap, apply to those programs. As Graham mentioned, all the different pathways, there's many ways this can end for you, but this is not the end today. And I think that's the point to mention.
Yeah, and actually, you're making a really good point, which is advice that we often give, and is probably somewhere in the videos on our website or an admissions tip on clearadmit.com. But one thing we always say is, don't apply anywhere that you wouldn't be happy to attend. So, because Mike, you were making the point, you've applied to all these schools. If you get into one, that should be a place that you want to go. And so don't apply places you wouldn't go. It sounds obvious, but people do it all the time because they're like, well, I've got these safeties, but I'm going to get into, these other ones. But they apply and then they're not excited when they are left with only those options. The other thing I wanted to give a shout out, we got a couple of comments over on YouTube. So one is Robin, who was very excited that we had Ann Kilby on from Georgetown McDonough, shared the fact that they got that. I don't know if Robin's a man or a woman, but so they said that they actually got into Georgetown today, and we're thanking us for the live stream. So that's fantastic news. That's exactly why we wanted to do this kind of a show, to kind of be there on the front lines. And then the other thing is that we had a great question from the same person that said Livewire could be, kind of counterproductive to your work. They wondered, like, what happens if you're in the camp of you're sitting on 3 to 5 offers after today when the dust settles? You've gotten into all these schools. What do you do? It can be really hard to choose.
Yeah,
that's a best case. Yeah, and so you mentioned, or I think you posted on YouTube, they should share that scenario over on DecisionWire. Be like, here's where I applied, here's where I got in. Include scholarship amounts because that's super helpful, and someone on our team will actually give you some thoughts on that. But I think at the base level, you want to step back and think about, like, well, where did you want to go? I mean, most people have some idea of a preference in their mind. Does that line up with the dollars that you've been given if you happen to be fortunate to get scholarships? And then we get into this other issue of sometimes we get questions about, can I make multiple deposits? I can't decide now. I don't know the financial aid yet. Can I just tell 2 schools that I'm going to come? And the answer to that is, I mean, technically you can. The schools don't like it. And also they have a pretty hefty price point where, you have to put down a deposit, and the deposit is not like a few $100s. It's usually several $1,000s. So, up to you, but, obviously your life is a little bit easier if you know where you want to go. Obviously there are instances where you might be applying to additional schools in round 2 and you're forced to say, well, I'm going to deposit at the school that I got into in round 1 that I'm most likely to matriculate. But there could be a round 2 decision that changes your mind. That's fine. That happens. But you have to be willing to walk away from the deposit dollars. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah. And Graham, a follow-up kind of to what you just mentioned there. Can I request an extension on the round 1 deposit deadline if they're waiting for round 2 results? And that does happen, especially with folks that are kind of in between on a certain status, right? Maybe waitlisted at a school especially, but also admitted to a different one. You want to go somewhere, as we said. So yeah, what do you think about that?
I mean, my view is similar to this and on financial aid. It's like it never hurts to ask. And as long as you ask politely, there's nothing bad that will happen. It's not like, if you say, I need an extension, they're going to say, no, and by the way, you're no longer admitted. That doesn't happen. So you can ask, but I would do so politely. And often, I mean, there could be any number of reasons, right? You might have a spouse or significant other who is trying to line up a job in a different city, based on like where you end up. And maybe they get a job offer at school in the city of school A, but not B. So you could have all kinds of reasons that you'd be saying to the committee, look, I'm moving with my spouse. We need a little extra time because my spouse is looking for work and we don't have that lined up yet. So there could be any number of reasons to ask for an extension. Obviously, schools don't always give them, but you can ask. There's no harm. You don't get anything that you don't ask for. And then as to your point, Mike, about, oh gosh, what was the second point? Oh, it was about, I just lost my train of thought. You don't remember either?
No, I didn't think, yeah, sorry.
So it was about depositing and then, if you're on a wait list is another. Yeah, waiting for round 2 decision. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, same idea. Oh, no, I was going to say about scholarship dollars too. Again, doesn't hurt to ask. If you're not happy with what you were given, you can come to a school. I will say there's a lot of calculus in this in the sense that if you got into a school that's like an M7, top 10 school, and they gave you, let's say, I don't know, $10,000 or something as a scholarship. And then you got into a school that's more of a like top 50 school that gave you like 40. There's not a big, I mean, it's going to be harder to convince the M7 or top 10 school to kind of shift off of that. It's easier to negotiate your scholarship if you're in the same tier. Like, oh, I got into this school that's a competitor of yours and they're offering more, but I would like to come to your school, right? So there are ways to kind of negotiate. But again, never hurts to ask. Certainly, as I said, just do so politely. And some schools have a no negotiation policy on scholarship dollars, on things like deferrals, on things like deposit deadline extensions. So it depends on the school too. Some of these schools can be more strict than others. And so you're back at Livewire. Yeah, it looks like Stanford's definitely out, right? We're seeing rejections, wait lists.
Seems like it.
There's a Booth decision, but Booth was like last week, but someone just updating. That's good. We love to see it. Good result there. More wait lists at Stanford and Harvard. Yeah.
And Graham, another thing we've kind of like talked about a little bit here, but when we're looking at whether it's which schools to target for round 2 in some of these instances, there's that kind of dirty word sometimes of rankings, right? And how that kind of interacts sometimes with how you make those decisions of, what is considered more of a reach school and what is considered a school that you should choose, right? And I think on that side of things, just curious your take of like, should people be looking at a specific ranking to decide for them which school is going to be best for their needs, or is there a better way to kind of assess that for yourself?
I mean, I think the rankings are useful in the sense that they can give you a kind of general lay of the land. But once you get into like specific career goals, which, ideally you have a career plan. If you're applying to business school, you have an idea of roughly, what you feel like doing, whether that's consulting or starting your own company or, joining something in the finance space. Knowing that can help a lot, because one of the things that's funny about the rankings is that they're kind of general. But if you want to work, so for example, if you were to tell me you want to work in media and entertainment, I would probably give you a very different list of business schools than if you were to tell me you want to work in private equity, right? I mean, there's just different schools have different strengths. Media and entertainment, you might really prioritize being in a city like Los Angeles or New York, where there's a lot of kind of jobs and networking opportunities there. So yeah, I think it really depends. I would say use rankings with caution. We often say, use them at the very beginning to kind of get a lay of the land, putting together a list of schools to investigate. And then maybe use them at the very end when you've got your offers and you're like, oh, where should I go? And it might be somewhat insightful to look at things. But I would also look at career reports. I would talk to alumni, talk to current students. So there are a lot of things. There's a lot of homework to do. This is a big decision, often 2 years of your life and a lifelong network. So I wouldn't take it lightly for sure. Yeah. We're kind of at the end of our marathon, I think, right?
We've made it. And so for anybody, and if you are here and you are willing to use the chat and you've been with us for 3 hours, please let us know, because that would be amazing to see. And I know Robin's probably the closest, just because they were there at the very beginning to tell us they were excited to hear from Anne, then had to jump off to get admitted to Georgetown, which is amazing.
There you go.
I mean, we were all hoping that something like that could happen at an event like this, and to actually see it play out is amazing. So congrats again to Robin for that happening for you. But yeah, and then coming back to continue to chat with us afterwards. So really, really good stuff there. But yeah, let us know if you're still here with us, because we want to be able to do this again. I mean, there's another bunch of decision dates that'll happen in March after round 2. And so we'd love to probably, get the band back together, get a couple more guests maybe. And there you go. Robin's been here since the beginning. So Robin wins the medal from us.
And shout out to Eve as well, for posting that great question about deposit deadlines. And again, I would just stress, just you can ask. You never know what they're going to say. It's better to have it's sometimes better to have a reason that's more personal in nature than I'm waiting for school B to give me a decision, if possible. But in any event, Mike, I'm happy to do this again in March. I think it's a great idea, and we had a lot of fun today. And round 2 is a big round too, so there'll be a lot of decisions then.
Yeah, so we'll find a day where a couple things overlap again, maybe with some portal updates as well. That's kind of fun when we had those moments pop up. We can see a bunch of results flowing in. So we'll find a day, come back for us in March. But for those of you, awaiting decisions or just interested in MBA admissions or already have a decision but wanted to see what this thing was about, thanks for jumping in with us today. This is our first go at this, and I had a good time. Graham, I don't know if you agree, but I think it was kind of fun to be able to interact with the audience, see things live on the site. Again, a lot of this typically happens for us behind the scenes, and we're all excited talking about what's going on in admissions. I guess we're admissions nerds to a certain extent, right? That's why we work at a company like ClearAdmit where we're tracking this type of stuff day in, day out. But we love this stuff, so we're excited that there's folks online that love it too, want to hang out and talk to us about MBA admissions today, and some awesome guests that popped in, about 6 different school reps, as well as our partners over at Juno, who are willing
Yeah, a lot
to
of
go
fun.
at this with us on the first go. And were really insightful and awesome, and really brought that excitement as well individually. So appreciate all of them, all of you. Graham, thank you for hanging out with me for 3 hours. Alex from our team for jumping in to help ask some questions.
And
Also Elliot, Lauren, and Vic on our team who are working behind the scenes. And
yeah, making it all happen.
nobody
Yeah.
probably knows what they did today besides us, but they were huge helps as well. So,
Yeah,
really good
totally.
endeavor for our company to do something like this. And I'm hopeful, we'll see you all back in March.
Yeah. In the meantime, just you can tune into the ClearAdmit podcast every Monday. You can hang out on Livewire to connect with each other, share results, and you can also, we have this great bot that we built on our website called Ask ClearAdmit. That's an AI. It's built on OpenAI's platform, and it's incredible. We had it suck up all the data that we have as an organization, and all the content we've ever published, all the podcasts, and it is. I'm telling you, it's better than ChatGPT at answering your questions about admissions. And that's because it's got a brain that is focused around real admissions expertise and not just everything out on the internet. So in any event, yeah, this has been so much fun, Mike. Thank you. I mean, huge thanks to you for all the work you did in making this come together. And again, to our team behind the scenes and to Alex Brown for joining us and all the guests. So much fun. And yeah, we'll do it again. We'll talk soon about this.
Sounds great. All right, awesome. So we're going to sign off. Again, it doesn't mean that the day ends. There's more decisions to be had, and you'll see all that on Livewire. So come back, hang out on our site, check out our future events. If you're interested in learning more about MBA careers, we have our event with Carnegie, Mellon, Tepper and their career office tomorrow. That'll be December 11th. So check out our site to sign up for that event as well. And it's been awesome. So ClearAdmit signing off from the live, but not signing off from MBA Decisions this week. And happy holidays and happy new year as well if we don't catch you at an event in the near future. And congrats to everybody receiving some news today.
Yeah, happy holidays and best of luck to everyone in the MBA admissions process. We'll see you soon.